วัสดีท่านผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านอีก
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the afternoon session for the International Insurance Symposium 2025.
Symposium 2025 Collaborative
And the theme is Collaborative Intelligence, Building the Insurance Community for the Future of Insurance.
ข่ายประกันภัยสู่อนาคตแล้วก็ทักทายอีกครั้งหนึ่งสำหรับคุณผู้ชมที่ติดตามผ่านทางแพลตฟอร์มออนไลน์ทั้ง
And once again, welcome our online participants. You can follow us on the Zoom meeting and also OIC's Facebook page for the live broadcast of today's symposium. And if you have any pictures or if you have captured the screen and you want to share on your social network, please do not forget to add the hashtag ISS2025 for today's hashtag. And we still have a lots of seats in the front rows, so you are cordially invited because it will be a really packed afternoon. So please join us in the meeting room. We also have a lots of interesting topics, and we want to start with the topic of AI. Artificial intelligence, whenever we talk about artificial intelligence, we are more familiar with the AI, and there are numbers of schools and institutions from World Economic Forum and other international organizations where we believe that AI will replace these many AI and it will bring both opportunities and challenges to the business. And that includes the insurance industry. So what do we see? And especially, it also comes with cyber threat. And as you can see, that risk assessment will change forever. And let me take you to Mr. Vinit Pawar.
Please welcome the Senior Vice President Business Development and Corporate Strategy Blue Venture Group Public Company Limited. Please welcome Mr. Vinit Pawar. A round of applause for Mr. Pawar, please. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Thank you OIC for organizing this and inviting us to be part of the speaking team and sharing our insights. Today I'll be talking about how AI challenges and empowers insurance companies. So one of the key things with AI is that there's a lot of unknown factors around it. People the way you work with AI, a lot of times you need data, and one of the key things is having structured data. Today we'll be sharing some use cases that we've gone through, BVG, and also a case study as well, along with the state of AI in the insurance industry. So let's look at the agenda. We'll be, as mentioned, we'll be sharing, so first I'll be starting with industry investment insights, because in terms of investment, InsurTech has received a lot of investment during the COVID time, but after that it has cooled off quite a bit, and we'll explore that further. And also the state of AI adoption in the insurance industry in 2025. This is based off a survey from more than 240 executives in the insurance industry to understand their views, their success factors, challenges, and so on. And we'll also share BVG's AI journey, our claims use cases. We built an AI model for claims, and we also have an underwriting product as well. And lastly, we'll look at the case study, Lemonade. I think everybody knows Lemonade. They're one of the top insurers using AI at pretty much every touch point with their customer and for operations as well. And at the end, I'll wrap up with the top challenges and top opportunities for insurers wanting to implement AI. Okay, so let me start off with this quote from Daniel Schreiber, the CEO of Lemonade. He says that insurance is the single most disruptible industry on the planet. Not sure if everyone agrees. So this was said a couple of years back when he started Lemonade. And I think to a certain extent it's true, because the process and the workflow that are being done in the insurance industry has not changed much. But what I think, what he says is not fully accurate is that I think insurance has a lot of touch points which can be improved in the workflow, and AI can definitely come and help. But for him, as Lemonade, starting as an AI-first insurer, that's an unfair advantage as well. So if we look further in terms of the insurance industry disruption, there are currently now approximately more than 3,000 insurtech companies operating worldwide. And that definitely says something. You know, if the insurance industry or insurance companies are efficient, there probably won't be this many insurtech. And if you zoom in further, these companies are mainly handling like different tasks in the workflow, trying to optimize that and being a part of the insurance end-to-end workflow and part of the operations, part of the underwriting process. So this further proves that insurance is, you know, being disrupted, but at a workflow level, at a touch point level. And if you look at the middle column, the insurtech investment has peaked during COVID, but has cooled off in the last 3 years. And actually, it's not just insurtech, but many other tech investment has cooled off. But where did the funding go? So the only vertical that has been significantly gaining investment is AI. If you look at the rightmost column, you'll see that according to CB Insights, global AI funding has hit record high in 2024, surpassing more than 100 billion. Why is that so? Why do you think that is? I think in the past 2-3 years, we've seen AI use cases that is actually functional and helpful and actually provides value. Though it's not at scale yet, but people are starting to see that AI is game-changing, you could say that. And with that, the insurance industry is compelled to change as well. So if you look at the insurance industry's compelling need to change, I think the key thing to work with AI, first thing is to optimize, secondly is to reduce, and third is to shift. So when I say optimize, the main thing is you need to identify the core functions that could be more efficient. There's definitely room for improvement. If you audit your workflow, audit the way you work and the way you work cross-functionally as well. You could see that in underwriting and claims, there's definitely an opportunity there. For claims, actually, I saw in a report that McKinsey said within 2030, they expect roughly around 50% of the claims to be automated. And in terms of underwriting and claims, a lot of times it's a manual process and it's siloed. So this could definitely be automated through data integration. If you use AI-driven risk assessment, you could see faster cycle times and reduced leakage as well. So this is the first one for efficiency and automation. Secondly, if you look at reduction of operational cost, you'll definitely find efficiency there to be lean and digital. So a lot of times, currently, there's a lot of different systems, legacy systems, that are not actually interacting or talking with each other. And there's high expense to maintain each different systems as well. But with AI, today especially, AI can help you in terms of using cloud migration and process streamlining. There's a lot of potential to reduce costs by 15 to 30% through digital and AI. And one of the key things with cloud and using AI to help with unstructured data is that it's scalable and it's flexible as well. Third is the shift to customer centricity. And this would help with growth. Towards the end of the presentation, I'll share a case study of Lemonade as well. How did they use AI to help with customer centricity and growth? So when you say customer focused, it's basically shifting from product focused. You start with a product first in insurance, but there's no field to test if there's a market for it. And when you solely focus on products, sometimes you're not answering the needs of the customer. So in terms of the overview, I think these are the 3 key components that AI could definitely help. And in terms of strategic outcome, AI can definitely help provide competitive advantage and sustainable growth. Okay, so if you, this is the AI insights I was talking about, the state of AI adoption in 2025 in the insurance industry. This was surveyed by over 240 insurance executives, and you could see that by now, by 2025, 82% of insurers, of leaders, actually sees AI as their strategic focus. They know and they fully understand that AI needs to be a part of their operation, and AI could be leverage. And at the end of it all, they feel that AI can definitely improve their financial performance as well. So hence they're a top driver for AI adoption. But if you look at the AI adoption, actually out of the 100% insurers that were surveyed, 70% are still just actively exploring or testing AI solutions. But there's been a gap, in terms of going to production. I'll go into it in a bit more detail after this. So as mentioned, only 22% has successfully moved projects into production. And in terms of the challenges, you'll see that top 3 adoption barriers within the insurance industry, 52% mentioned that it's lack of skills and resources. And there's actually, I'll go into a bit of a detail, but there's a resistance within the organization as well, not just the lack of skills and resources. Secondly, it's data challenges. Right now, the data within a company is with different systems, and it's mostly unstructured. Let's say if you're still handling claims or policies on paper, then those are unstructured data. So it needs time to actually structure those data and let AI help you with that. And the last challenge or the adoption barrier is fear of underperformance. People, I think a lot of times with AI, the idea is that once you start using AI, the performance needs to be 100%. Whereas in reality, when you start using AI, it takes some time, to cross-check, to review, and to feedback. And once the feedback loop starts going, and there's enough data to help AI understand the root cause and what you want to achieve, generally the accuracy or the performance goes up after some time. So it's not like implementing a SaaS system or a cloud system where you know exactly what you're getting. But with AI, you need to work with it for a bit, train it like you're welcoming a new employee to the company. And lastly, the keys to unlocking value in AI. Again, 71% of the respondents said that model accuracy is the key thing. If it's not accurate, it's not worth looking into. And secondly, 45% said that access to AI trained specifically for insurance. This is the critical success factor cited by leaders. Okay, now we'll dive into each of the points a bit more. The push for AI is coming from all directions. And when I say all directions, it's not top-down anymore. I think a lot of times within the company, you'll find that your peers, your colleagues, your coworkers are coming to you, team members are bringing ideas that, hey, AI can help with this function. So it's not a wait and see kind of approach evermore. Because I think with ChatGPT, everybody now uses AI as part of their daily work routine, and that actually helps fuels more ideas and AI use cases. And as mentioned earlier, 82% sees this, of leaders sees AI as strategic corporate initiative, and 44% view the AI adoption of their competitors as a key factor. So this group basically, are in a wait-and-see mode. And once they see that their key competitor are utilizing AI, that's when they start moving. That's when they start to understand that, hey, we might lose market share. Let's do something about it. But not sure if it's too late. Okay. So even at the, in terms of the survey respondents, when we drill down to each key functions of insurance company, whether it be underwriting, claims, and IT, more than 50%, underwriting at 75%, claims at 72%, and IT at 65%, across departments, all, all their key functions feel that AI can definitely help them. However, there's also a question mark in terms of how to go about this, how to implement this. As starting your own AI model for every function within the company could be costly and also takes a lot of time. So now we look at the, based on the stats and the survey and actually reports from McKinsey and PwC as well, I think it's clear to say that the insurance industry is all in on AI, but at the moment, currently, only around 22% of insurance companies have a live solution in use, running in production. Most of them are just in testing phase. Most of them are just in exploring phase, 45%. They're meeting with vendors, partners, trying to understand capabilities and see where they can use AI to help. And another 25% is in a testing phase, using AI in small cases. A lot of this is because they're probably not sure yet or how to work with AI, and it's like an implementation trap. I think the expectation is very high with AI, but when you actually implement it, it takes some time for AI to gain the performance and deliver value. Okay. So the three critical barriers that are stalling AI progress. So in terms of challenge, definitely, as mentioned earlier, the skills and resources constrained, a lack of specialized talent, subject matter experts, and even budget to develop and integrate AI into the main system is one of the biggest blocker. And secondly is data challenges. It's often fragmented, siloed, and insufficient quality to effectively train AI models. And as mentioned earlier, failure to deliver value. There are two more blockers that I would like to mention is that there are significant hurdles, including regulatory challenges at 36% and internal resistance to change at 35%. So when you say internal resistance to change, this is when the culture or the employees within the insurance companies are set in the way of doing things. They don't want to change, even if it means that AI can help free them up to do more complex and more high-value tasks. So, as mentioned earlier, accuracy is the cornerstone of AI success. Everybody looks at accuracy. Like basically, once you implement AI, the accuracy of AI models are the top critical success factors for their initiative. So 70% of the respondents mentioned that. But one key thing I would like to point out here is that to achieve high accuracy and high performance with AI, I think one thing that is most of the time overlooked, because whenever we talk about AI, we always jump right into automation, straight through processes, and so on. But in reality, AI actually needs human in the loop to start the learning process, start the feedback loop. So once this is in place, then AI can definitely learn along the way and be much more accurate. Another key I'd like to point out is that one of the biggest blockers in the insurance industry is sometimes they feel that they want to develop something in-house, and they've started that, but a lot of times the implementation fails. If you look at building something in-house for, let's say, you might have 50 touch points in your operation that AI could help. Imagine building AI for every touch point. That would take a lot of manpower, team, and time to maintain that. But if you work with outside partners, there's definitely a key jump in timing, a much shorter implementation time to production and to see ROI as well. And another key factor that insurance companies look for is vertical insurance AI. Because if you use a general AI model, a lot of times you need to retrain the data because AI doesn't understand the complexity of the insurance industry. So if you could find a partner with AI model that's vertically trained, maybe for underwriting, for claims, policy checks, and so on, that would definitely help you with the time to production. So I'll end the part of the state of AI adoption here with a practical, simple roadmap for AI implementation. So first, I think this is clear, define a clear business case. Start with an operational use case. It could be a very small area that is very repetitive, that is being done manually and are prone to errors. There's a lot of, if you really look into your operations point by point, you'll definitely find a small to medium kind of sized issues that could be solved through AI, but will have a high impact. And this is like claims processing, submission intake, automation, etc. And if you can, this is you can prioritize vertical AI. This would definitely, as mentioned earlier, shorten the time to production. And if you could find a domain-specific models for whichever pain point you would like to solve, that would also deliver higher accuracy at the starting point. And third, instead of validating with a POC, I think we should move to a proof of value. Basically, once you start a POC or you try out an AI, focus on the value and the business impact and find out that metrics. And maybe use it for a couple of weeks or a couple of months and try to make sure that that number or the standard, the goal that you've set out will be achieved in the long run and would help with business impact. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, at the starting point, definitely implement human in the loop. Design workflows where AI collaborates with your experts. They're learning from experts. Definitely will drive accuracy, and it would build trust among users as well. If it's a underwriting team or claims team, once they know that their decision are actually a feedback loop to the AI and building a better AI for them, they'll definitely trust it more. Okay, so that was the overall state of AI in the insurance industry. Now I'm going to share, our journey, BVG's Blue Venture Group's AI journey. I'll just give you a short background on who we are. We're an insurtech group founded in 2000, and our goal is to create a more efficient and streamlined insurance ecosystem. And we certainly believe that technology is the key to unlocking the full potential of insurance. We're proud to be the backbone of the insurance claims industry in Thailand. We are an award-winning claim solutions and management provider. We provide platform for both motor claims and health claims as well. And we're processing roughly around 3.5 million claims annually, and we have more than 5,900 partners in our ecosystem. And as mentioned earlier, we have experience, expertise, and we're specialists in solving problems with technology. Okay, so by the numbers, I'll just focus on the key stats. I think one of the key things I would like to point out is that in terms of motor claims, our EMCS, Electronic Motor Claim Solution Platforms, now has 98% market share in Thailand, and 34% of the 34 insurers are currently utilizing this. And they're working with more than 5,000 insurers working partners, whether they are garage, authorized dealers, windscreen shop, part supplier, and so on. And the key thing is that we're processing more than 2.2 million claims annually on our motor claims platform. And this has helped insurers control their loss ratio and enhance efficiency. And last but not the least, we're boosting their customer satisfaction as well. So I'll just give a quick overview of what we do. In our motor claims platform, we have on the left mode, this is a motor claims journey. So we have a claim notification system and the claim settlement system, and we also have a garage management system. And in the last couple of years, we have built an AI model and integrated it with these platforms to enhance operational efficiency for both insurers and the insurance ecosystem as well. And as mentioned earlier, if you look closely, our solutions actually supports pretty much every touch point in the claims ecosystem, starting from the policyholder to dispatching surveyors, claim settlement, if the car needs to be towed, if part needs to be ordered, and if there's an auction for salvage bidding, we have that as well. So insurers, it's a one-stop claims shop, let's say, for insurers. Okay, so now the key point I want to highlight is our AI journey. Actually, we started this since 2020, the year that COVID happened. We've been exploring that for AI for some time. And one thing that we realized at that point is if we build an AI model from ground up, the go-to-market timing would be double or almost triple. So what we did was we looked for a mature AI model, basically a vertical AI in claims, and localized that with the Thai claims. And in terms of the product focus, we started with AI for claim settlement. It launched in 2021, which works between the body shop or garage or dealers and the insurers. And secondly, in 2023, we launched AI for claim notification. I'll go into details on this after a bit. And lastly, we also moved from claim settlement, claim notification, into underwriting as well. We recently launched AI Inspect. Basically, it's a tool for policyholders to take pictures of the car, and the AI will automatically assess the damage. And we're proud to say that to date, we've processed more than 450,000 AI claims. Okay, so I just wanted to explain, what happened behind the scene to get this AI model up and running. There's a lot of work involved. So to develop a visual AI model, not a Gen AI, but a visual model, you need lots and lots of data. So as mentioned earlier, we partnered with a global AI model. So they worked with 12 major insurers globally and trained the AI on more than 300 images over 5 years. That's the amount of time it takes to build an AI model. And so after that, we based on the global AI model, we localized it to be a Thai AI model because there's a lot of discrepancy in terms of, in the US and the UK, there's not many Japanese but in Thailand, Japanese car dominates the market. So we wanted to make sure that our AI recognizes that. And secondly, it's also the pickup trucks. There's a lot of pickup trucks and pickup truck-based SUV here in Thailand. That's also another challenge that we wanted to tackle and make sure that AI is accurate. So we then trained the AI on more than 1.2 million Thai claims or 20 million images. This process actually took us a couple of months, which is very, very quick for the time. And part of the reason we were able to train it within roughly around 2 to 3 months to get the first model running is because all our data is structured within the EMCS claims platform. That was the key for us. And part of the reason that the global model took so long is because most of their data were unstructured and from different insurers in different formats. And lastly, we fine-tuned the Thai AI model and further calibrated it based off best-in-class Thai adjusters. We invited the expert adjusters within the Thai insurance industry to train the model further. So to look specifically at the AI Review AI product, basically how it works is it works in between when the workshop or the body shop sends an estimate to the insurer. AI would extract the data and then look at the pictures and match these two. If the quote makes sense, if everything is fair and square, everything submitted is clean, then it would approve the claims. However, if it sees that there might be some potential discrepancy, potential leakage, then it would flag that case for the adjusters to review. And this is for another AI model, which is AI estimate. Our goal was to shorten the surveyor dispatching journey, which is a common practice in Thailand. So today, when you have an accident, you call the insurer, then you wait for half an hour or an hour for a surveyor to come to the scene. And then they take a picture, and it takes about half a day or a day for them to submit these paperwork or all the data, pictures, and everything to the insurers. And it takes some time for the insurers to review and then approve. So basically, it needs, roughly at least a day or two for the car to start repairing. But the idea that we had was to embed AI into the photo capturing tool and a video call tool. So basically, if you have an accident, you can call the insurers, and insurer will send you a link, and you can click that link and take the pictures yourself. It's a guided picture taking process. Or you can do a video call with an insurer's representative. And then from there, the AI estimate will automatically create all the damage by panels and populate it with the repair costs and part costs as well, because these are embedded in our system. So basically, the journey for the customer is much quicker. Just to highlight how AI estimate works, basically, as I mentioned, once a link is sent, AI basically ingests the data that is captured, and then AI instantly assesses the damage, and an automated estimate will pop up on the insurer's side from EMCS or BVG's labor and parts price data. And lastly, our latest AI model is for underwriting. It's a similar process to AI estimate. However, this model focuses on identifying small damages on the car, because at the inspection process, that's the key. The minor scratches, small dents, and so on. So it's the same process. You send a link to the policyholder or an agent or a broker as well, and they start the picture capturing process, and AI will do a damage verification and analysis. And you can also configure basketing and policy recommendation based on your business rules. And also, what we've seen in other countries with underwriting AI models is that a lot of times, so depending on the region, you could see between 30 to 60% of car inspection cases that are clean. Basically, there's no damage. So the time to issue the policy should be quick, right? So AI is basically mainly helping in those segments that human doesn't need to come and review. And after utilizing AI for a couple of months, you can start automate the clean cases to issue policy quicker. Okay. So these are just the key stats, based on our AI products. So as mentioned earlier, we've processed more than 450,000 AI claims to date, and our coverage is at 100%. Our performance or our accuracy is currently at 92%, which is one of the highest in the industry. And if we look at the 92%, this is the accuracy when AI could identify that this damaged panel should be repaired or should it be replaced. And in Thailand, we actually does not look only at the repair and replace level. We have a model called LMHR, basically identifying if it's a low damage, medium damage, high damage, or if it needs to be replaced. So even at an in-depth level, our AI's accuracy for claims is still at 86%. And through the usage that since going live for the last 4 years, we've seen that there are automation opportunities here, which are at 14% currently. But if we drill down and look at the lower claim cost, basically called dry claims over here in Thailand, there's a chance of automating more than roughly around 23% of the claims, which is basically 1/4 of the workload of the AI, of the adjusters. So this would definitely help in terms of scaling. And yeah, we've seen a high growth for our AI adoption as well. We're growing roughly at a 40 to 50% rate annually. Okay, so this is the, so yeah, that concludes the segment on BVG's AI journey. So lastly, I want to provide a case study for Lemonade. I think everybody in the insurance industry knows who they are. Lemonade is a full-stack AI insurance company. And so these are the slides that I pulled out from their earnings call just recently, I think a couple of weeks back. I was trying to look at them again, like how are they performing, being an AI first insurance company. And one of the things that they're very confident is that they're able to price risk really accurately, and operational costs, they're able to collapse it. And their key strategy is to delight customers. And I think in a way, I'll show you after this, they're achieving that goal, mainly due to utilizing AI in the key touch points. So this is their overall kind of strategy. Their goal is to be an AI leader in insurance through pricing risk accurately and ability to collapse cost. So if their thesis is that if they're able to do both of these, they'll be the price leader in pretty much every segment they enter. And once they are the price leader, a lot of times insurance product, I think loyalty might not be a big factor these days. A lot of times people look at price when they're buying an insurance policy, and that actually drives growth, as mentioned. Okay, so the key, I think, when you talk about opportunities or empowerment through using AI, I think pricing risk or excellent underwriting performance through rapid data feedback loops enhance their AI models. So if you look at this graph, this is their in-force premium versus their gross loss ratio. So if you see this is the data from the last 3 years. Their growth actually they grew by around 60, 70% in the last 3 years in terms of in-force premium. However, their loss ratio is crossing down from 88% down to 67% in the last quarter, which is very impressive. And again, the key is that they're able to price risk accurately. So they've seen the gross loss ratio improvement alongside significant IFP growth, and they're claiming it yields 100% annual gross profit growth for 3 years running. And another key slide that I found in their earnings call is their ability to collapse cost. AI powers dramatic operating leverage. And I don't think in the insurance industry, this graph would definitely signifies empowerment the most, because if you see their growth in terms of premium has grown by almost double, from around 600 million to almost 1.2 billion in 3 years. But if you look at their operation expense over here, you'll see that it has grown only by a fraction. So this is what AI brings. It's the ability to scale and at an exponential level. Another key element I want to point out is also their loss adjustment expense ratio. They're currently down in the last 3 years. They went down from roughly around 14, 15% to now 7%. Yeah, so yeah, anyway, I think this sums up the use of AI very well. And lastly, the idea of delighting customers. I think one of the key things that customers are very, very happy using Lemonade is the ability that they pay out the claims very quickly, pretty much instantly. They claim that it's within 3 seconds they can pay out claims. And that's more than 50% of their claims that are being paid within 3 seconds. And the ability to purchase a policy in 90 seconds. I think that's also a big plus. I think if we look at the current state of our process, I think this is a big challenge to be able to issue a policy within 90 seconds. So in terms of, to wrap up the case study, I think this slide sums it up very well. Insurance companies are in the business of pricing risk and serving customers. It's basically a data company. Insurance company are, like actuarials are basically, data scientists. And they've been using data for the last 50 to 100 years. And that's something that AI excels at. So yeah, nothing does that more accurately and efficiently than AI. And lastly, to wrap it up, I just want to point out, highlight the three key challenges, top three key challenges, and the top three opportunities or the empowerment that you can gain through using AI. As mentioned earlier, I think the production gap is the key. Time to production, like how do you get there quickly and to be able to test it out rather than just an idea on paper in meeting rooms and then you've never even had a chance to try this AI. And secondly, the data and talent void. This is something that could definitely be rectified through quick learning and culture change. Basically, if you reskill your team, help them understand how AI will definitely help them be more efficient and be better at their work, that would definitely help. And the accuracy trap. So a lot of times focus is too much on accuracy, whereas, let's say, humans make errors as well, right? If AI can help, let's say, 60 to 70% on a task, that's definitely a big operational efficiency gain already. And on the right side are the empowerment. Basically, in terms of collapsing the cost structure, I think you've seen the case with Lemonade. I think that's a clear case in terms of their operational cost that has grown just fractional as opposed to their growth. And from proxy to precision, basically, currently AI generally use law of large number and with a broad modeling. But with AI, you have the ability to personalize risk pricing and drive the loss ratio down. And lastly, the customer experience, the instant customer experience. I think in the era of social media and instant gratification, people want things right at their fingertips. And I'm not sure if insurers are able to provide that at the moment, maybe except for Lemonade. But AI can definitely shift the cycle time down from days to even minutes for underwriting, issuing policy, and claims approval. Yeah. So yeah, that's all for the AI talk.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Vinit Pawar, please give him a big, big hand. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation. And now เราเปิดโอกาสให้ทุกท่านที่อยู่ในห้องประชุมแห่งนี้
Now I'd like to open the floor for question and answer. You can raise your hand to ask your question. And if you're thinking about the question, you can also scan the QR code on the screen as well as also type your question to Mr. Pawa on AI and insurance business in Thailand. Does anyone have a question here? So while we're waiting for questions.
Or any advice for the CTO of insurance company in Thailand right now?
I think that's a big risk. I don't think I understand AI technically more than them to advise them. But one idea for me is that with AI, you can start small and look for big impacts. Where is the small focus that you can optimize, but have a higher business value on the side? I think that would be my key suggestion. Let's say.
Could you elaborate more about start small?
Okay, so I think when you audit your workflow or your process, I think of it as just like, say you get a claims report, and somebody might have to review that and enter something manually. If an AI or an AI agent can help you do that, it's basically from a 5 to 10 minute task down to like 30 seconds that AI can do it for you. This is very small, but imagine that somebody or a team of people are doing this for maybe thousands or 10,000s of report or paperwork, then this scales up to a big business impact.
Okay, thank you. ที่บอกเมื่อสักครู่เริ่มจากเล็ก
So starting small for Thai insurance company, I believe that all of you from the Thai insurance companies, you have the experts working on this. You can start from small. I asked how, and then he just said, oh, we can start from processing reports, and LLM can do a lot of things at an affordable price. And so let's look at the questions.
Can I get a presentation of course?
ขอพรีเซนต์ได้หมดได้ไหมคะได้แน่นอนค่ะขอบคุณมากครับขอบคุณล่วงหน้า ที่คุณบอกว่าบริษัทที่ยังมีความกังวลในเรื่องของความปลอดภัยของ AI มีข้อแนะนำอะไรในเรื่องนี้ไหมครับก็ยุติธรรมดีนะครับที่คุณรู้สึกว่ามีความกังวลในจุดนี้ก็อย่างที่บอกนะครับเป้าหมายก็คือให้เริ่มจากจุดเล็กๆแล้วก็ทำให้แน่ใจว่า AI มันสามารถทำงานได้ในกระบวนการหรือ workflow หรือว่า pain point ของคุณที่ต้องการจะแก้ไขแต่ว่าในเรื่องของความปลอดภัยหรือการปฏิบัติตามกฎนะคะเวลาที่คุณทำงานกับ partner หรือ vendor ของคุณเนี่ยก็ต้องทำให้แน่ใจว่าคุณมีเช็คลิสต์นะคะเพื่อ
their security model as well.
All right, and the next question, under a big flood event at Hat Yai, how can I help expedite a claim process?
I think with AI and technology as well, I think it's a combination, especially with flood. It's something that you need to respond very, very quickly, and a lot of times the policy details or all the information are lost with the flood, right? When you purchase a policy, I still get a paper policy, right? And supposing I keep that policy in the car and I lose it in the flood, what do I do? But let's say if you deploy a chatbot or something that I can just put in my phone number and my policy details pops up, things like that. It's a small thing, but it will definitely be helpful for the people going through their loss in flood.
อย่างน้อยที่สุดก็คือเรื่องของตัว
So at least they can retrieve the data from the database, especially for those who lost their documents because of the flood, they can look it up from the database.
About the cloud computing. As for, how could I say, a typical or traditional insurance company still in somewhere on this planet something, how could they jump from their traditional step to AI move?
I'll probably pass on this one. It's a bit too technical for me. But one thing I would like to say is there's not many cloud providers. You look at AWS, Google Cloud. or Microsoft Azure, it's you can be guaranteed that they're pretty solid in terms of security. Sometimes they might be implementing so much more security measures than your own servers or your own IT team.
เขาก็เคยผ่านตรงนี้มาก่อน
So he's been through this point. There are some providers who are big tech companies who are providing cloud computing service and data centers, be it Amazon Web Service, AWS, or Alibaba Web Service, etc.
insurance company in Thailand soon
I hope so. I think it all depends on data. If we're able to aggregate those data and learn from them, it can be started. However, there's a lot of investment needed. If you look at Lemonade, you see their loss ratio going down, but their operation cost is really stays the same while they're scaling. However, they're still not profitable yet. It's a point to note. And they're spending a lot of money on ad spend, marketing spend to acquire customer directly. Basically, their CAC or customer acquisition cost is really high because as an AI insurer, they're working directly with customers, not through brokers or agents.
หวังว่าจะได้เห็นในวันข้างหน้านะครับแต่
So hopefully we will see that in the future, and Lemonade is still facing challenges in their marketing and market expansion because it's not profiting yet.
Perhaps what's about the claim process without human rechecking or human supervision? This.
Okay. Without human rechecking.
Without.
Okay. It is possible. I think especially with the lower claim costs, that claim might have, okay, if I focus on motor claims, that claim might only have like 1 or 2 or 3 panels. And some panels like the windscreen, the glass, basically, you need to replace it anyways. So what's the point of coming to rechecking it manually? So for certain use cases, definitely, but the entire claim process, I think there's still a big question mark because you still need human in the loop to make sure that AI get the feedback it needs to become better along the way.
ก็ยังให้น้ำหนักกับเรื่องของ
So it is still important to have human to conduct a review in the claim process or decision making process.
Give Mr. Vinit Pawar a big hand for his presentation และลำดับต่อไปนะครับขอเชิญผู้ทรงคุณ
So moving on, I would like to invite Papat Kunwaropat to present a token of appreciation to Mr. Vinit Pawar, please.
ขอบพระคุณครับ thank you very much ขอบพระคุณด้วยนะครับ
Once again, thank you very much, Ms. Prapapan. And I believe that we have seen some opportunities in AI and how AI can be incorporated into our workflow in insurance industry. That leads us to another very important key aspects of insurance, which is the product design as well as product and services. We have heard about the concept of personalization for quite some time, and that leads us to the next topic, personalization as a growth engine. And not just certain group of consumer, right customer and right moment. Personalization as a growth engine driving sales and retention in a competitive market.
And founder of Easy Digital, Mr. Haprem Dua.
สวัสดีครับผมชื่อเปรม
Hello, my name is Prem. But let me talk in English because my slide is already in English. So I already mixed some Thai language, but anyway.
Prem here to present personalization as a growth engine for driving sales and retention. So a little bit about me first. I've been an entrepreneur for about almost a decade now. First company, I don't come from insurance. I have no background in insurance. I come from e-commerce. I come from selling pet products and baby products online, companies like Lazada and Shopee. When I first entered insurance was when I founded a company called Frank in 2016, because I saw that there was a big gap in the market. Nobody was selling insurance online in 2016, and I thought, why not? Let's try it out. So that's when I started selling insurance online. We built the company, became very successful. I was able to sell the company to Boltec in 2020. Boltec is one of the largest insurtechs in the world, valued at $2.7 billion right now. They acquired us, used our platform to scale globally. After I left Boltec, decided to start Easy Digital, which is my current company. We focus on helping insurance companies digitize through our sales CRM that we built from scratch. So today's topic, if I had to summarize everything in one slide, is very simple. Personalization, yes, you need to do it. It's not a question of whether you have to do it or not. The answer is always, yes, you have to do it. We're trying to understand why we have to do it, how to do it, and what are some successful cases that have already been done. So the first thing you need to understand, us, people, we are lazy. We are self-obsessed. We love thinking about ourselves at all times, at all places. That is the human nature. That is human psychology 101, okay? How does what you're showing me matter to me? Is the picture you're showing me, do I care about it? Does someone else I know care about it? Or do people around me care about it? How do you make it easier for me? How do you save my time? How do you save me money? Everything is me, 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 I. That is the human nature. Every single one of these companies down here have figured out a way to help you save time, save money, and show you content and things that are more that you care about the most. Let's look at Netflix. Before Netflix, you had to go to, you guys remember Sutaya? You guys remember Blockbuster? All those DVD places where you had to go and essentially borrow DVDs and buy laser discs, things like that. Yeah, now Netflix shows you content that says, we think you will love this. This is the top one in Thailand. Please click on this for you. If you open Netflix and your friend opens Netflix, you'll see different TV shows. That's personalization 101 already. Shopee. You open your Shopee account, you open your wife's Shopee account, you open your friend's Shopee account, not a single product on the homepage will be the same. Everyone is configured and customized. Why do we have OpenAI right now? Google was really good, it was fine, but people got tired from searching and just finding general information. ก่อนหน้านี้เราเปิด Google เราเจอแต่ลิงก์ถูกไหมครับผม
In the past, Google only show you links and you have to drill through the links.
Which one do I click on? I have to open tab 1, tab 2, tab 3, tab 4, tab 5. Now OpenAI will just tell me the answer for myself. And my answer will be different from someone else's answer. Why? Because it understands me. If you understand the human psychology, you understand this. This is the why we have to personalize. Now, that's the why. What does it affect? Now, Vinit actually touched on this in the previous conversation a little bit as well. Everything is about this mathematical formula. Your sales, your growth, your revenue is traffic multiplied by conversion rate, multiplied by average order value, multiplied by frequency, multiplied by retention. Each of these play an important role into growing and getting more sales. You can have the most traffic in the world, but if your conversion rate is 0, this entire thing is 0. You can have the best traffic, best conversion rate, but if nobody's buying anything from you, revenue is still 0. So all of these things play a part. What helps with personalization is this part here. This is the one part that personalization actually helps you increase. Now, going back to the previous example, if you go to Shopee, if Shopee just shows you basic products that you've seen before, are you likely to click on another product? No. If you go to TikTok and Instagram and it just shows you what everyone else is seeing, are you likely to click on it? No. It's a proven science. If they show you things you're likely to click on and engage with, that's what's going to help conversion rate. So they do that. They spend millions and billions of dollars to build an AI algorithm just to make it so that the products that you see are based on what you might like and what your friends like, so that you are likely to stay on their platform and click on more. All of that is a conversion. Now, for Instagram, they don't have to care about average order value, but they care about frequency, they care about retention, they care about traffic, and they care about conversion rate, because that's how they make their money. For insurance, it's a very similar, let's say, journey to e-commerce, okay? Let's start with the first basic one. Somebody visits your product. You have a 100% visitation rate. That is the starting point. You visit through agents, visit through brokers, doesn't matter. They are aware of your brand and they see your brand. 60% of those people are already gonna bounce out. That's what we call in e-commerce. Bouncing out means they're gone. They go see something else, they're not interested. So if you look at insurance, the ones that are asking you or calling your call center and say, do you sell travel insurance? Do you sell motor insurance? And you say, yes, we do. And they say, okay, bye. Lawang sai. That happens all the time, okay? That is normal. Now, the next step is once they've given you information to complete your quote, so they've given you their name, their phone number, some contact information, your quotation is already started. That's a lead generated already. And then finally over to the ones that actually buy. Now you look at the number here. It's actually only 3%. You're talking to 100 people and only converting 3 people. It sounds very little, but this is math. Amazon, Shopee, Lazada, Instagram, TikTok, all of them, conversion rate is between 3 to 4%. That is fine. That's not the issue. But once you've gotten them, you have to really, really keep them, because this is where you actually make the money. This is all customer acquisition cost and playing. So once you understand this math and once you understand the conversion that matters the most, that's when you understand why personalization is so important. So how do you get started? You know why you have to do it now. You know the math. Let's start something simple. Let's pick a target, okay? For today's use case, let's talk about motor renewal journey, okay? So you are an insurance company and you want to renew motor insurance products more efficiently. How do you use personalization to renew motor insurance better than you're currently doing? Let's start with collecting a baseline. That's what I like to do. Understand everything about this first. What is your current conversion rate? Out of all the customers you had last year, how many are you able to renew normally this year? Let's say it's like 60, 70%. What is the journey? What does a customer have to do to renew their policy with you? What does an agent have to do to renew the policy with the customer? What is this journey like? Draw it all out. Understand every person, every touch point that is connected. Now, a normal motor journey would be what? Somebody has to trigger that, oh, this customer's policy is expiring in 3 months. The underwriter has to look at it, compare it to a claims, and see whether there's a claim made, yes or no, and then give a claims pricing, pass that over to an agent. Agent has to go contact the customer. Customer then looks at it, takes it, compares it to another 2-3 vendors, and then customer comes back and confirms to the agent, and then finally buy. That's, let's say, standard process, right? Fair? What about the customer pain points? During that whole journey, what is the pain point of the customer? How long does each step take? Think about all those things. Now, once you've thought about that, it's all about quick implementation, fast implementation, and learning what you can adjust in that entire journey. Is there a way to fast track it? Is there a way to not have to send that policy over to the underwriter to confirm when you already know what is going to be the price next year because they had this many claims? Is there a way to bypass the agent and send the renewal rate straight to the customer and renew with the customer but still give the agent a commission? There are so many things that you can do. Is there a way to notify the customer right away through your customer portal? Maybe during the year you can wish your customer happy birthday so you don't always have to talk to them only about collecting money, because customers feel that that's a pain point. Insurance companies only call me when they want money. They never call me when I need something from them. Maybe call them and wish them happy birthday. Small things like this all impact a different part of that journey. But they sound like very simple things, but actually all these things that you're doing are all around personalization. You're all giving that individual customer attention in the way that they feel that you are talking to them and only them. When you're wishing them happy birthday, it may be an automated message, but you're sending a message to them on their birthday and they like it. They feel good about it. You're reminding them 2 months, 3 months in advance. If you find out that they bought another travel insurance policy from you, after the policy expiry date, you send them a message, hope you have a good trip. So simple. But they now feel like you care about them. Those are kind of things that cost nothing to try, but they're all small personalization. And you don't need AI to do any of this. You just need workflows. This is when you start scaling. When you start testing all of these small things and start trying different journeys and you start realizing what works, what doesn't work. You track and you measure the results of all these small changes. Workflow and automation-based rules work just fine. If somebody comes and tells you if you want to personalize, you need to use AI to do it. No, you don't. You just need to set a workflow in your CRM system to see the policy expiry date of the travel insurance policy and send that customer a happy, hope you had a good trip, welcome back message. That's it. Takes less than 2 weeks to set up on your CRM. For motor renewals, if you want to bypass the agent or if you want to send a message to the agent or wish customers happy birthday, again, simple workflow. Customers feel good. If you want to recommend a product to the customer, to understand very quickly on what they like or what they don't like, go back and look at the past sales. Draw a tree out. Every customer of mine that has bought a motor insurance policy, what other policies have they purchased from me? And draw it out. It doesn't have to be real-time data. It can be past data. But once you see, okay, this one bought motor. Second policy they bought from me was travel. Third policy they bought from me was personal accident. This customer bought motor, and then they bought accident, and then they bought another motor. This customer bought motor and then house and then this. You can understand in a large group and large data set what that tree is looked like and what that decision mapping looks like. And then start targeting the customer. Hey, we saw that other customers who bought motor insurance also bought property insurance. Are you interested in this property insurance? We can give you a discount because you already are a customer. So simple. This is how you have to start thinking. This is how you have to start understanding that personalization is not scary. It doesn't have to be AI driven. It doesn't have to be specific, long processes. You can test and learn quickly and scale with automation. Now, obviously, you can use AI. I'm not saying don't use AI, especially on the content creation part. This is like massive amounts of scale. So TikTok, Instagram, Netflix, all of them use AI. Because why? They don't have enough resources to go around and say, okay, let's draw the map out on a daily basis. No, it doesn't work. And also, their frequency and touch point is much higher. You go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, you go on Netflix, you go on Prime every day. You don't call your insurance company every day. Well, you guys do because you work in insurance companies, but you know, most people don't. So understand that as well. You are actually at an advantage. You can do personalization in a much easier way than some of the big companies around the world. Let's look at some case studies of what some companies have done for themselves that have worked out really well. So one simple one, AIA Vitality. Now, granted, they spent way too much money on this platform, but the concept was very simple. Let's give every customer an app, a platform where they can give their personal information, give us more information, so that we can give them better prices and understand who they are a little bit more. That one simple thing that they did, show the customers the policy, very basic functionality, let customers answer surveys. How is your health today? How is your sleeping? How is your food? Do you eat sugar a lot? Do you drink? Do you smoke? How many kids you have? Basic survey questions that you can do tomorrow with SurveyMonkey. Put it all together and give customer discount and give rewards and campaigns. Now, just based on that alone, they have realized that from this AIA Vitality policy, they have a 40% lower lapse rate than any of the other policies that they're selling on AIA. That's 40% lower lapse rate. Just let that sink in for a little bit. compared to all the other policies that they're selling. They're tapping into the mindset and the human psychology of customers. They're making the customers invest into their platform by giving information. Anyone here use Starbucks app? มีใครใช้บ้างไหมครับผมแอป Starbucks
So do you collect Starbucks points? Do you keep track of your stars? You don't check your stars. Who is looking at your Starbucks app every day?
right? Now, Shopee. Anyone collects the tokens and points on Shopee? Hands up. Okay, more ladies doing that. Yeah, a lot more people putting their hands up. Same thing. Why does Shopee do that? It costs them nothing. You're collecting like 1 baht coins, 2 baht coins, 3 baht coins, but you're collecting something. When you collect something, it's yours. It's mine, the human psychology. So AIA Vitality does the same thing. You give them more information, you get points. And every year the points goes away. So you want to give them the information every year. So you don't want to cancel, you're not even thinking about canceling the policy anymore. Now your mind has like shifted over to how do I get more points or how do I give them more information so I can get more points the next year. The mindset has completely shifted. That's how they get the 40% extra. It's a very simple thing. Let's look at another example closer to home. Hyper-personalization at a very different way of doing it. Now, they're targeting personalization at the point of quotation, not even at retention. When you go to Rutai, you have to answer like 20 questions before you can get a quotation. Now, I guarantee you all the other insurance companies here don't have to answer that many questions to get, just for a motor insurance policy, to get a quotation. Most of the companies here would ask you like 4 questions or 5 questions. Make, model, year, ชั้น 1 ชั้น 2 ชั้น 3, and that's about it. Why do they do it? Because they want the most invested people to be buying from them. If you are ready to answer 20, 25 questions before I can give you a quotation, then you are worthy to be my customer. Then I know that if I send you to the call center, you are going to convert at 50+%. Most call centers, if you're a cold call center, you're converting at 3 to 4%. If you're a warm call center, means drop the lead online and then call, you're converting at 10 to 12%. Their conversion rate is 50%. Just think about how much more effective and how much more efficient their sales team are. They don't need 1,000 people in their call center to handle those, but they have like maybe 200-300 and they're highly converting, highly motivated, and they're selling every day. And they've hit 2 billion plus in sales already in Thailand. Some other things that they did as well was add a call me now, and all these things help. It's not just one thing, but it's multiple things that actually help. Another thing that they were able to do with all their data that they collected was offer very specific prices for customers. By asking all those questions, they can price you as a person, not just because you're driving a Honda Civic, and all Honda Civic drivers are bad drivers, so therefore you are also a bad driver. Another case study that we saw with one of the companies that we worked with. Just by giving their customers a customer portal. So the case is very simple. We are working one of the largest brokers in the Philippines. Now, as most companies know, insurance companies will give tools and platforms to their customers, but most brokers do not. Most brokers, you just buy from them, and that's the end of that. This broker wanted to change things a little bit. They contacted us and said, can you give us a platform so that we can communicate better with our customers, so that we can renew our customers more effectively and more efficiently? So we gave them a customer portal. Within 2 months, they started seeing renewal rates increase. Existing renewals were increasing more than before. Why? Because through our platform, they could wish their customers happy birthday. We set a workflow within our system to automatically trigger happy birthday notifications to all of their customers. The other thing we did was let the customers know renewal prices and renewal quotations 1, 2, 3 months in advance. When you're doing these things through workflows, what ends up happening is people are out of the equation. It's a lot more systematic and a lot more trackable. Nobody is going to forget. I've run a broker in Thailand before, so I know when you rely on people, there was a question earlier, somebody asked Vinit, right? If you're letting a human do it versus an AI, how do you know that the AI is right or wrong? Well, guess what? Humans are wrong also. In fact, humans are more wrong than AI is wrong. Like, you can ask AI, it might hallucinate, it might tell you something wrong, but most of the time when you ask people something, they're going to lie to you, and they're going to tell you something wrong. So humans are also wrong. But at least on AI, we can quantify it, and we can work on a way to fix it. With humans, people have been trying to fix human wrong for a very long time. It doesn't work. So something simple like this, we were able to show a 15% uplift in renewal. Retention increased that much. If I have to leave you today with just a couple of things, here's what I want to leave you with. Personalization is to get attention of customers and to stay on top of mind. Going back to the human psychology of what I was talking about earlier, it is not about just increasing sales. That is the byproduct. That is the end result of that formula that I showed you. If you can get the attention of customers and you can get them stay and remember who you are, that is what actually helps you get more sales and more retention. You stay on top of mind. And that is what improves conversion rate. And staying on top of mind, again, should not only come when you're trying to collect money from the customers and reminding them of renewals. It should be happening throughout the journey, throughout the process, at all times. You can create content. You can do TikTok. You can do Instagram Reels. You can do YouTube Shorts. You can share relevant information about their area or their policy or something interesting around a travel insurance deal to get them to know who you are and become more personable to them. You are no longer just an insurer that just provides them a piece of paper. You need to be more than that in this day and age. The other thing I would really implore everyone here to do is to learn from other industries. When I came into insurance, I did not come in knowing anything about insurance. I came in going from e-commerce. That formula that I showed you is not a formula for insurance. It's a formula for all companies selling online. But insurance companies don't think about it that way because most people in insurance are from insurance and stay within insurance their entire lives. I suggest you move beyond that. Learn from other industries. Some things when I did at Frank that I learned very well, very simple things. Anyone here have an American Express credit card? Yeah? When you get an Amex credit card, do they just give you the card in an envelope or they give it to you in a very nice, pretty box? Nice, pretty box, right? Means nothing. You throw away the box, but it doesn't matter. When you get that box, you feel something. You feel like, oh, I'm special. Super small thing. Now, it's not even personalization. It is something they do for every American Express customers, but you feel something special when you get that box. Now, most people pay 30,000 baht or 40,000 baht a year to American Express to get that box, to get that card. Most people pay a lot more than that to an insurance company. But why is it when I buy an insurance company policy, I just get a piece of paper, a policy? That's it, nothing else. Why? Why don't I feel special? Why don't I get to feel special with this? Those are kind of things that you need to understand. That's what learning from other industries mean. Now, you look at the airlines industry, you collect points on airlines. Why don't you let customers collect points on your platform as well? Why don't you get customers to buy more policies from you? AIA does that. They make me collect more points by giving them more information. Why aren't all the other insurance companies doing that? Why isn't there a conglomerate of insurance companies working together and saying we are now part of the same point ecosystem that you can earn and burn and share points together? Learning from other industries will open your eyes and understand how they have been able to retain their customers and keep their customers. For today, that's all I have. That's my LinkedIn. If you have any questions, I would, please do ask me right now. I'd be happy to answer anything. Thank you.
All right, a round of applause for Mr. Haprem Dua และตอนนี้เปิดโอกาสให้กับทุกท่าน
Now it's time for you. If you have any question about personalization or the presentation, you can raise your hand. If you are in this meeting room, we will send the microphone to you, or you can scan the QR code, which will be appearing on the screen soon. And you can type the question using Menti.
Do you want to answer in Thai or English?
ได้ทั้งสองครับ
Any either language. Okay, you can also ask question in Thai language too. So we have any question from the meeting room while we are waiting for the online question? So let's see if you have any question from the QR code, but let me ask some leading question in Thai language. So you talk about one interesting thing when you talk about point and what you say. The retail business has already introduced electronic wallet for the customers to use and gather points. But what did you do in other business? I have never seen that in the insurance business. I think that's a very good opportunity too, because for insurance, you need to open your mind and work with other companies to work together, like the airlines. Airlines can do that because they know that this flight might be connected to this and that. They know their routes. Sometimes you know who is competing you on the same route. Sometimes you can share the routes with other companies. But for insurance company, they always see each other as competitors in all aspects. But that's not the case. There are many cases where you can handle certain level of risk, but you don't want to handle other types of products, so you can send it to other people. So why don't you partner with each other? I think it's the same industry. You can help each other. Maybe you can even get some brokerage fees too. But people in this insurance industry, you are pretty closed up. I think you don't see this as an opportunity. Like Rujai actually have another company. They opened a company called Ruka, Kumka. Do you know why they have to open up Mr. Kumka? Because they know that they spend a lot of marketing budget to get customer to Rujai. Eventually, there are lots of people who don't really interested in Rujai. The bounce rate was 60%, so they lost about 20% after the quotation, so that was quite a lot. So you spend 100, but you only get 20% of the customer, so the conversion rate is pretty good, but it's still quite costly because you spend 80% for Google, for advertisement firm, and you lost all of that to your disappearing customer. So why don't you send it to another company? For example, at least you get some commission back. Maybe they cannot really, maybe they don't want to buy from Rujai, maybe they want to buy Viriya, Pitaya, or Muang Thai insurance, but at least you get some fees back. If you are partner, in my point of view, I believe that you cannot do everything by yourself. Why don't you work with your friends? I think that's one way that can be very helpful. I think that really suits today's theme. We talk about building the insurance community, and that's about collaboration. And we have one question here.
It comes with higher cost, really? How do you suggest to leverage its cost effectiveness? Really, do it?
คือผมต้องบอกว่า
I really have to say, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's very simple. A personalization doesn't have to be more expensive. When you're thinking about personalization, right now, what you're thinking about is customizing the way you do everything for that one customer. It's not about that. For me, personalization is about understanding human psychology and leveraging that for higher sales and higher retention. Now, when you understand that mindset, your concept of personalization changes. Like I said, wishing a customer happy birthday for the customer is personalization. For you, it is a workflow that you can create in 2 weeks that sends out to every customer. But that doesn't matter. It's not personalization from your perspective. It's personalization from the customer's perspective that you have to worry about. ต้องมองจากมุมมองของลูกค้าไม่ได้มอง
You need to look from the customer's point of view, not your point of view. From your customer point of view, like when they receive Amex card, they share it to everyone. But Amex send it to every single one of them, hundreds of thousands of them. But it makes the customer feel delighted. I mean, just a signature from Amex CEO, for example, on the box. Actually, he signed it every day. He signed it for everyone, but for you, when you receive it, it's very personalized. That is what I mean by personalization.
It can be done in a very cheap way if you understand your customer's perspective and understand from their point what they care about and what will resonate with them.
คือมันกลายเป็นเหมือน
So it's like the terms that we know in marketing inside out and outside in, and so we have to look inside and deep down inside demand of the customers. And so this is also another interesting question. What kind of CRM AI tools do you recommend for insurance business? I'm not sure if CRM is a part of personalization or the other way around. So the question is, do you recommend any CRM AI tools? This is a very broad question, so it depends on your usage, your application.
The customer resource management is for you to get a single view and a single understanding of all of your customers in one place and give your team an understanding of who their customer is, what policies they have. You can run workflows on it and things like that. Now, applying AI is a whole other different thing. You can apply AI on so many different aspects. You don't have to apply it only on your CRM. So I think this question really depends on the use case. I'm happy to show you my LinkedIn account. Just reach out to me. I'm happy to help you with consulting.
How would you apply personalization without breaking the law of large numbers or even regulation?
So going back to what I was saying earlier, you're not breaking the law of large numbers. We've already been able to prove that large companies with millions and millions of customers, or almost a billion customers, are able to personalize some aspects of their platform to you so that they can drive large numbers. That's already proven every day. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Netflix, Prime, Disney, all of them are already personalizing for you. Now, what they're personalizing, they're not personalizing the platform. They're not personalizing the way they deliver the content, the way they deliver the service. Nobody is asking insurance industry to personalize pricing or underwriting or product for every single customer. You can keep that the same. But you can personalize the messaging. That costs nothing nowadays with AI. You can personalize the delivery. That also costs nothing. You can personalize so many other aspects in that journey to get the product to the customer without having to break the law of large numbers.
ครับมีคำถามเพิ่มเติมจากในนี้ไหมครับ
Any other questions here? You can raise your hand or you can type it in the chat box. So there is one more question here.
Insurance product could come with higher premiums for some customers. Would this be impact of number of sales if these products introduced to market?
ผมพูดอย่างนี้ดีกว่า ตอนนี้คุณก็ทำกันอยู่แล้ว ถ้าลูกค้าเกิดอุบัติเหตุ
So we have such similar products. So if a customer had an accident, his pricing would be different than other ones. So that's personalization. The customer may bounce, but you still do it anyways, regardless of whether this is going to increase or decrease your sales. So this is something that you already do. So would this personalization change anything? No, this is something that you do every day. So this is to re-emphasize what Kun Prem has mentioned about personalization in the process and the concepts. So while waiting for more questions, I have a question. So if you are an organization and you listen to Kun Prem and you want to do personalization in your business, be it a broker business, financial advisor business, or insurance business, how do they start? And who should be the responsible person? So you can start from one journey. Don't think about personalizing everything in the company. It's impossible. Just choose one journey, understand that journey, and understand the process and journey of the customers. And then you choose one journey, and then, well, it doesn't have to be something new. It can be something that others have done, and it increase sales. It can be sending a happy birthday message, or it can be sending your policy in a nice packaging, and etc. So this makes a person feel different than other people. And from my client's perspective, from your client's perspective, if they feel that they're cared for, they would be happy, and that's it, nothing more. So we have to understand the customers, right? So that's personalization. So that's a very clear answers we got from this session. So may I invite Kun Prapapat, the senior experts from the OIC, to provide the token of appreciation for our speaker.
Personalization as a growth engine. such a powerful talk. Thank you very much ขอบคุณมากนะครับขอบคุณทั้งสำนักงานคปภขอบคุณคุณครับ
I'd like to thank the OIC as well as Mr. Hapram. So we learned a lot, and this can be applied to your business as well. So we will have 15 minutes break now, and then we'll meet again. And the last session of the first day of International Insurance Symposium, you can actually visit the booths outside, and also take a slow motion video. And when you disseminate it on your platform, do not forget the hashtag IIS2025. And we'll meet again in 15 minutes.
ยินดีต้อนรับท่านผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านเข้าสู่
Welcome back everyone to our last session of the International Insurance Symposium 2025. We will be together until the last session of day one, and so there would be two more topics that are interesting. So we'll have executive from Aon who will talk about using data for analysis for insurance companies to handle catastrophe. And also we are honored by the executive from PricewaterhouseCoopers as well, who would be talking about the new investment paradigm, for example, for insurance companies, and he will be talking about it in a sustainability perspective. And so you can stay tuned through online channels as well as the OIC platforms. And moving on, when the catastrophe can happen anytime, and now it's actually intensifying. Some disasters that have never happened in 100 years, 200 years. And now it happens. How would we handle that with the existing data that we have?
How data and technology are reshaping catastrophe insurance. Please welcome Head of Operations and Program Management Impact Forecasting Aon. Please welcome Mr. Himawan Mulugu. Please give Mr. Mulugu a big applause.
Thank you. So it's been quite an insightful session since the morning. I've taken nicer parts from all the presentations and probably will sort of connect it back to the world of catastrophe modeling. So my name is Himavant. I've been developing flood models primarily over the past 10 years, 12 years. Right now I'm responsible for model development strategy within impact forecasting, which is a specialist team based completely within Aon. My expertise lies primarily in Earth observation, satellite sciences, remote sensing, and flood model development in general. Some of the aspects that we have seen in the previous presentations about how data is important, how structured data is important, as Vineet mentioned, personalization aspects around what Harpreet mentioned, usage of artificial intelligence, machine learning, inference, how high frequency but medium severity events like the flood which is ongoing right now, what Vinny mentioned in the morning. I will try to cover bits and pieces of all these informations because catastrophes, as you all know, they are quite topical as well as quite prevalent in Thailand, especially floods. So in terms of impact forecasting, what we do within Aon is build catastrophe models, not just flood models, but primarily all natural catastrophes, but also model things like rioting, cyber, casualty, terrorism, etc., etc. So overall, the goal is to make sure that we have some estimates about how catastrophes unfold, as well as what could be the adverse impacts of it. Now, impact forecasting is a misleading name, I agree, because forecasting, if we can do that, we will all be playing gods. So it's more about understanding the size of the event, as well as the likelihood of the size of the event, which typically we all know as probabilities. Second is risk rating for primary underwriting. Now, this is one of the aspects where the personalization aspect of property and casualty insurance as it relates to NatCat pricing comes into picture. So when you underwrite a policy, you ask about what is the occupancy of that building, on which floor the sum insured exists, what is the coverage, is it the building or a content, is it located inside an industrial estate. So these are all actually categorical and qualitative questions which impact the pricing. So that is, in some manner, personalization is actually very easy for cat insurance. I would argue that it is almost mandatory. So one of the aspects that we will cover is also on how risk-based pricing is very much important for catastrophes in general. Third is something called as an automated event response. Some of the speakers earlier also touched upon how soon a claim can be settled. Or if the first question about personalization is how soon you can go to the market when somebody is clicking on your product, how soon you can quote it, the second option is how soon can you settle the claim. So automated event response is a service which is up and coming in catastrophe modeling these days, where before the event, an insurer already have an idea about how much they have to reserve, where their claims personnel can be deployed, where could they expect more number of claims, what could be the severity, etc., etc. Model customization is the fourth aspect where impact forecasting helps Aon clients as well as insurers and reinsurers. We'll talk a little bit more on why customization is important. And CAT models, as you may know, these are very, very large models, sometimes including AI, most times not, because traditional machine learning models have been in existence in CAT modeling since last 30 years. So I would argue CAT models were the first insure tech, so to say, but it was not very mainstream. And few of the things where we get a lot of questions from the insurance industry, not just in Thailand, but also in the ASEAN region globally, where if a market model or a reference model is built by a vendor, the vendor could be impact forecasting, they could be a Moody's RMS or a Verisk. As you know, there are very, very few players in the market who generate these catastrophe models because it's a huge undertaking. For example, when we built the Thai flood model back in 2018, it took about 8 colleagues over a span of 3 years to build that model. So these are not easy undertakings if we have to model high resolution perils such as flood. So then there are considerations around what if my portfolio is very, very unique to a particular place in the country or a particular line of business, et cetera, et cetera. So a market model which is built just as a reference cannot work for these boutique insurers. Think of companies like Ecclesiastical, which is a European insurer. They write only churches, nothing else. So the church can be something from a very small building in Asia to a very Gothic building in Prague or Czech Republic, where the typologies of risk can be many, many. So places like that, we develop something called as damage functions, which are part and parcel of the model. And also, these days, climate change it has become very mainstream. And that is where we also help Aon as well as our clients in collaborations with universities, et cetera, et cetera. So for the benefit of those who don't know what a CAT model is, just so that we orient the talk for the rest of the session, basically, a CAT model takes location as an input. It could be a latitude, longitude, coordinate location. It could be a tambon. It could be a district. It could be a province where you know where that location is. A stochastic module of a CAT model is thousands and thousands of physically possible events which are synthetically generated. So this was the first use case of machine learning starting 20, 25 years back. Now we have improved that. Artificial intelligence obviously helps in that cause as well. Third is the hazard module, where if we know a certain location is going to get impacted, how much is it going to get impacted? That is the hazard module or the severity module of it. And obviously you will have building characteristics, whether the building is made of masonry or steel or reinforced concrete or wood, or is it a composite structure which is conforming to a fire code, and vulnerability functions, which are a mathematical relationship between hazard and building characteristics, is then calculated. Simply put, if I have 1 meter of flood impacting a particular building, will it get damaged by 10%, 20%, 30%, et cetera, et cetera. Then we calculate the mean damage ratio and take it to the total sum insured, which is already there. We calculate all the policy terms on top of that and distribute the losses from insured, what is retained, between a panel of insurers, between reinsurers, retrocessioners, et cetera, et cetera. So simply put, the goal of a CAT model is to estimate a size of the loss, what is the likelihood of that size of the loss, and when that loss were to occur, how do you distribute these losses amongst all the participants or the stakeholders in the exposure and risk value chain. So with that gentle introduction, let's go to what are the emerging trends in catastrophe model development. As I said, our team is mostly focused on model development per se, catastrophe models in general. So all the session will be focused more on how data is important to model building, how it can be improved, how AI comes into picture, what are the pitfalls of data, et cetera, et cetera. So in my view, there are 5 trends that are up and coming. First is catastrophe models have traditionally been black boxes. So you either license a model or give it to a broker such as ourselves, or take it to a model vendor, and you import the portfolio, you get a result. All good until then. But when it comes to explainability of models, like what is the resolution, what is the data types that went into the model building, how old is it, are there any limitations to the model, does it cater to all the needs a regulator asks, can the model be tweaked as per a company's unique portfolios? So all these questions, they are becoming more and more mainstream these days. So that is one trend that we are seeing. The second, as we briefly touched upon, real-time loss forecasting, it has already become a reality. So automated insights where during the event or just before the event, getting that intelligence about what is the size of the loss, where could be the potential adverse impacts, that gives a very, very good advantage to insurers in terms of being better prepared. The catastrophe is happening. All that we can do at this point of time is to probably prepare better for it. And once we have like a loss forecasting during the event or after the event, these are also good mechanisms to test how catastrophe models behave in general. So there was a lot of discussion about the quake which happened in Myanmar and had some impacts all the way through Bangkok. Some of the locations in Vietnam also got affected. Now, the biggest question that I got asked by clients is, do models actually capture this? Now, that's a very difficult question to answer because what models capture will never happen in reality. The real events that are naturally occurring, a model cannot 100% capture it. Maybe they can capture around 60-70% of the adverse impacts. That is the reason why catastrophe models are created in such a way that you have thousands and thousands, in fact, millions of events which are guesstimating what could happen, so that an insurer or a reinsurer, they can look at what the outcomes are and take a call on how much protection that they would afford to in terms of the size of the book, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the other trend is also fusion of satellite sensors, social media, flood forecasting, artificial intelligence. All of them are coming together to sort of come with this real-time loss forecasting. Maybe a quick show of hands on how many of you actually use ChatGPT. So, quite a lot. How many of you heard about Flood Hub? So Flood Hub is a freely available service by Google, which anybody can access on the web. And you can actually check what are the impacts of flood as forecasted by Google 7 days before the event. Now, these tools exist. They are not very mainstream. Sometimes it is technological barriers. Sometimes it is understanding what the risk is. Now, if Google says, or if impact forecasting says, that in Hachai, the written period of flood is going to be 300 years, that doesn't mean anything to operational aspects of day-to-day business. Now, if that can be converted into a 300-year written period of rainfall at the upper catchment is going to release, I don't know, maybe these many cubics of water, which will in turn impact your portfolio, and you will get a loss of 20 million. Now, that is actionable insight, which insurance industry can take note of. So there is a huge gap between risk quantification and risk communication, which is one of the main pitfalls of why real-time forecasting is not happening, and that is something that we are solving. The third aspect is climate and temporal modeling. Climate modeling in general is very difficult because climate change is a very, very long process. You also have other aspects which is typical to weather, which is a decadal process or a 10-year process, 20-year process. There are climate variabilities which are not associated with climate change. So there is a lot of noise in understanding what is baseline as on today and what is as attributable or responsible because of climate change. Now, even if an insurer wants to add loading for climate change, how much will that be? Then that can be depending on which model you use, which insight you use. Even if you guesstimate based on some loading for volatility, that number will be always wrong. So the goal of CAT models is also to make sure that deviation becomes much, much lesser by using terabytes and terabytes of data. Artificial intelligence and inference, no topic is actually complete these days without climate change and AI. So we have both the topics today. And machine learning as it relates to model building, vulnerability estimation, exposure creation, mock claims creation, et cetera, you can use artificial intelligence in some manner or the other. Now, a typical case study would be a new insurer trying to expand into a new location, new country, new line of business. They will have zero claims that they can use in-house. There is no history. So AI can be actually employed to create synthetic sets of claims which can mimic publicly available databases. And that can act as a starting point in understanding what that product should look like, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, high resolution spatial intelligence. This is already a reality. Think of hazard maps. You might have heard about 1 in 100-year written period flood map, 1 in 1,000-year written period flood map, a risk map, which is a average annual loss, et cetera. And the location level intelligence is becoming more and more common practice. Not so much in Thailand, but it has started developing a little bit more in the Asian region. So of all the clients that Aon serves, we have started looking at data which is being submitted at a much, much, much higher resolution these days. So going back to all these 5 aspects, we will try to cover one example of each so that you get a flavor of where the industry is moving. In terms of openness and transparency, flood models that are a black box are less useful because already there is a lot of noise and risk communication. So the more open a flood model is, or the more open a CAT model is, the better it is for the industry, the better it is for the brokers and community in general. So the image that you are looking at is how flood was impacting in 2011 all the industrial estates in and around Ayodhya. So this is one of the case studies where every catastrophe model vendor, every insurer, every reinsurer will try to benchmark how it looks like on a real portfolio. Now, that same flood in 2026 or 2025 will not occur with the same pattern. No two floods are similar because there is a lot of investment that went on to building flood defenses. There is a lot of investment that went into creating the retention areas. The urbanization has changed. The kind of sublimits have changed. The qualitative aspects of the policies have changed. But still, models can be a very, very useful tool in understanding and pinpointing where your exposure is as it relates to a previously observed event. And again, in the nature of openness, there was a large study done by Aon and Impact Forecasting in collaboration with OIC in 3 years, 4 years ago, where we basically looked at all the policies anonymized for all the non-life companies and tried to advise or even estimate on what could be the flood impacts. Now, the effect of limits, deductibles, and sublimits is staggering. So this also gives an opportunity to insurers to take a look at flood risk in general, try to create a product which is based on risk as given by the model. Now, I'm not saying that the models are 100% correct, but still that will serve as a starting point rather than using a model for reinsurance purchase, which is what, in my opinion, about 80% of the market does. Like run a CAT model, go to a broker or go directly to the reinsurer, but use the CAT modeling outputs as a basis for reinsurance. But CAT modeling outputs are not the basis at the point of underwriting. So that creates a very, very big disconnect where traditional underwriting rules, they may have served so far, depending on the historical claims, but with climate change and everything, that whole narrative is going for a toss. So the more insurers and in general, every participant in insurance industry, the more they rely on models, they will be better dealt with in the longer run. So the second aspect, moving away from flood to quake. Now, Thailand was traditionally considered as a low quake or low seismicity region, but still long distance quakes and the impacts of it, we could not estimate or even expect that there will be impacts like this. Did CAT models capture these well? I would say about 40-50%, because these kind of freak events, they are physically not available when a model developer or a model vendor creates these models. What they can do is learn from these type of events and keep updating the models at the cadence which is consistent with, let's say, the risk that is associated with that region. A flood model should be, in my opinion, updated every 3-4 years. Quake model, we can take certain liberties because it is a very large phenomenon, probably around 6-7 years, but the models need to be updated as and when new information arises. And again, the combination of why it was so difficult to model was the combination of the impacts. They are coming not just from rupture, but also the super shear effect, meaning that the length at which this fault got ruptured, the speed at which it got ruptured, they were all possible causations for why that event happened in the way that it happened. So again, we are now concentrating on building a quake model, which is a regional model. Typically, flood models are built per country or per catchment or per river basin. Quake models, they must be developed taking into consideration long distance impacts. So this is one of the reasons why we are collaborating with Global Earthquake Model Foundation and trying to build a model which is more recent, as well as taking into consideration the impacts of Sagaing Fault, the Great Sumatran Fault, which are the two bigger source mechanisms in this region. So taking the example of real-time loss forecasting, which is the second point, this is basically marrying meteorological observations with some sort of CAT modeling. So we all know when a flood is going to happen, when a typhoon is going to happen, all the meteorological agencies, they give advisories. We get reports about this could be the potential rainfall, et cetera, et cetera. But creating that or converting that into actionable intelligence is what real-time loss forecasting does. So far, impact forecasting have developed these solutions for a lot of regions. So there is a lot of experience in the region as well as outside the region. So probably the one which is more topical is global flood. Again, who can benefit from this service or any service which is similar in nature? Primarily claims management, insurance stakeholders as well as reinsurance professionals. But more importantly, event response teams. This could be thinking about outside of the insurance industry purview as well, like for disaster response, for distributing aid, and all the allied functions that follow that. And so how does it work? Simply, before the season, a client's exposure could be uploaded into a system called Elements, that is our platform. And this could be any exposure. So it could be population impacted, it could be economic exposure, it could be GDP impacted. But for our industry, it is total insured value. And once an event occurs, automatic chain starts, the event gets monitored, a footprint of adverse impacts gets generated, and it goes through the full loss calculation platform, and client reporting is done via an email. So this is more helpful for clients who just want to look at their email and see what the size could be, and again, what the probability of that size could be. So this is a long-winded example of how it works for Typhoon. This was done in Australia. Fortunately for Thailand, typhoons are not, or tropical cyclones are not that bad yet. We don't know what happens with climate change, but so far, historically, physically, probabilistically, statistically, typhoons have been far and less in Thailand. But this was more useful service or more intuitive service for tropical cyclones or typhoons or hurricanes. But you could also do this for flood. We collaborated with a company called ISI, which is a satellite service provider. And this is similar to the products that you might be seeing in the open source called Sentinel data, or for a lack of a better example, you have your own satellites like Theos, which is by your space agency, GISTA. So once they give some indication of a flood warning or a flood footprint or an extent of it, this service actually takes it to the next step and creates a report which gives all the details in one concise manner. What is the overview of that particular event? What is the inside definition? So on and so forth. And again, this email comes with all the locations or all the policies that get affected by that particular flood event. So fortunately, we did, so this report came yesterday based on the ISA impacts for the Hachai flood. Now, the exposure is global economic exposure there, because that is the proxy that we use to see what impacts that we have. The footprint in general is well estimated. Again, satellites, they are not really good at impacting what could be flood on the ground. So optical sites, like if you open Google or wherever, you see satellite image, that is an optical image where you see how nature looks like in reality. So they cannot penetrate clouds. So during a rainfall event, they cannot see what's going on the ground. So the other aspect is what we call as synthetic aperture radar, which can penetrate the clouds, but unfortunately, they also have problems in urban regions, because standing water and building shadow, they reflect in the same reflectance. So they have to be cleaned up quite a bit in order to get insights like this. Third is the climate modeling aspect. We collaborate with a lot of institutions across the globe to see what the latest research is and convert climate research into CAT modeling research. Now, this is something every vendor, every broker, everybody who is developing a CAT model, especially that is related to hydrometeorological perils, should do. It's not an easy undertaking because of the time it takes. And again, in terms of collaborations, there are many, many reputed universities that are working in this space. One of the other aspects is, even though impact forecasting has about 180 colleagues working globally, 70 of them are PhDs in the science that they do, whether it is hydrology, meteorology, seismology, but it is still good to be on the update with what is happening in current research. So this also serves as a peer review mechanism, like our collaboration with Columbia University, University of Merced, UCLA, in this part, University of Kyoto, and all the players who are working in this space in terms of understanding how climate change can impact natural catastrophes. So there is a huge science, and there are a lot of ways in which these models can be incorporated into CAT models. The easiest that an insurer or a reinsurer would do, probably get that information from the brokers as well, in how existing CAT model results can be adjusted for climate change. There could be some factor on an EP curve, or there could be some factor to the frequency or severity, but in reality, they fall flat because climate change is something that CAT models did not estimate, because at the heart of a CAT model, they use historical data to extrapolate what can happen in future. Because climate change is an ongoing, longer-term process, it is very difficult to estimate these signals by applying a change factor. But a change factor does not cost money. Change factor is probably a 5-minute job. And most of the times, applying a change factor will reduce manpower, it will reduce effort that is there on the insurer, and maybe you might be about 30-40% incorrect than to what to expect. So that 30%, 40% risk is something that the industry is willing to pay, because climate models are very difficult to develop. But with more and more impacts of climate change in the next coming years, that deviation will increase. So investing in climate science or climate informed models at this point of time is very much essential for the industry. And artificial intelligence and inference. So this is one of my favorite topics as well, because model development, as I mentioned, is a very, very involved process. So if we have to develop a damage function or a vulnerability function for a residential building, it means that we know how every component of that building, from an engineering perspective, behave with a certain hazard, for flood depth or peak ground acceleration for quakes or wind speed, whichever. And it takes a lot of time to come up with these relationships. With artificial intelligence and machine learning, traditional machine learning, that model development time has cut down to probably 1/3. So CAT models can now be developed in a much higher precision, in a much quicker time, using less number of people. But to Vinit's point, there has to be a human in the loop, because again, there are a lot of cases where AI can get it horribly wrong and somebody has to check it. So still, the effort that is needed to develop a model that has reduced, in my opinion, by about 1/3. Some of the things that are being already used, I can only give examples of what we are doing in terms of AI and machine learning as it relates to CAT model development. And you can create stochastic event sets based on environmental conditions of the ocean. So stochastic event sets are synthetic events, which are millions in number. And traditionally, it takes a lot of time to develop them from a physical point of view. Again, generating precipitation patterns. This is valid for Thailand as well. We did that recently in the Malaysian flood model. So climate models in general are very, very coarse in nature, but still these are the only tools that are available to estimate impacts of climate change or variability from a physical point of view. But still, the effort that is needed from a 100-kilometer to a 10-kilometer resolution downscaling, it is a point of probably 20 servers running maybe for 2 months, 3 months, and quite an involved effort. But with machine learning and artificial intelligence, this downscaling aspect can be reduced quite a lot. Again, traditional methods like all the machine learning algorithms, they were already been in use for a long time. Deep neural networks, this is one of the ways in which models are being used right now, but there are at least 20 other ways in which artificial intelligence and machine learning can be leveraged. Generative AI, yeah, you know more about this because that is basically what ChatGPT does, pattern recognition, parroting something that is already learned. So AI is very good at repeating what is already happened. AI is not good at predicting. So, and this is the point that our previous speakers alluded to in terms of training the model as well as acquiring a model that is already pre-trained, but still there will be something that you can improve based on your own unique sensitivities of the company. So a model will be only as good as the data set which goes into training it. Sometimes it is garbage in, garbage out. Sometimes wrong data can be actually quite dangerous. Again, AI, as I said, it excels in enhanced pattern recognition, as well as, sometimes it can miss or overfit to the past. So if the history says that Hachai flood happens every 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, so the last flood before this happened in 2015 or so, and before that in 2008. But if, let's say, the data until that point of time is used for calibrating a model, or even training an AI model, it will not take into consideration the large canal that was built there. Now, there are many reasons why that flooding happened despite having that canal, but if a model is trained on outdated data, especially in CAT model development, the data becomes very, very obsolete. Even an AI model becomes very obsolete in a span of 1 year, 2 years, so there has to be constant training of it. Okay, so the final point on high-res spatial intelligence, how this is important for basically underwriting as a first example. And asset-level geocoding, risk scoring, once you have high-level information about a particular location, the characteristics, basically having high level of a geocode at latitude and longitude level or coordinate level is quite important for this aspect. There are many, many solutions that are available, and they range from having pre-compiled maps that somebody can print and stick on a wall. It can be an Excel table for every tambon, every province, every district, or it can be very high resolution APIs for digital native insurers that they can integrate into their platforms, or it can be any visual application like the impact forecasting toolkit that you see on the screen, where an underwriter go and screen it. There are many solutions that are available in this space, which are using different kinds of data, but the overall goal for an insurer should be whatever data is being used at the point of reinsurance should ideally be used at this step as well, so that there is a consistency in the toolkit as well as a consistency in the type of data sets that are used. So typically it comes in two forms. One is hazard data. The second one is risk data. Hazard data simply means, for a flood point of view, it will just capture the spatial extent as well as the severity, which is defined by flood depth. Now, these are tied to specific hydrological return periods. You might have heard about 1 in 20, 1 in 50, 1 in 100. So basically, the flood hazard maps, they tell you about how much flood depth can be either reached or exceeded at that particular return period for a location. Now, that does not tell you about what is the risk associated. For example, you can have a category 5 hurricane or a tropical cyclone in the middle of the ocean. For an insurer, that doesn't matter. But even a tropical depression, once it crosses over, bringing in enormous amount of rainfall, it matters to a reinsurer. So hazard in terms of severity will not mean much without attaching the risk information to it. One other example could be if you have 5 meters of flood depth in a forest, it might not mean much. But if you have half a meter of flood in a semiconductor factory, it will mean all the difference between total loss and some loss, etc., etc. The other aspect is bringing in the risk data inside, which is a simple metric of all the information that is available for a model, and this can improve underwriting by a lot. Again, the toolkit application, or there are many such applications in the market. This is ours. It uses all the data that we have developed so far and put it into a web application. And at the point of underwriting, an underwriter can check what is the location that they are writing, geocode it, see what is the flood depth based on different return periods, also see what is the AL data there. So average annual loss in reality should be equivalent to technical premium. So that is what the model says that you should charge over the course of, because it is averaged over years and years of stochastic simulations. On top of that, the expectation is you will add loading for profitability, loading for administrative charges, loading for volatility, etc., etc. So these applications are quite useful in terms of assessing. So this is an example of how HACHI looks like for a 1 in 100 year flood. Now, if you go back to the previous slide, which we will share later, the effects in and around the city as well as in and around the province in general, they are well captured by the CAT models. But again, these are worst possible scenarios. A 300-year flood, a 200-year flood across the country will never happen. It will be 1 in 300 at the upstream. As it flows down, It picks up speed, it picks up more volume. It could be 1 in 350. It could be a 1,000-year flood by the time it goes to the mouth of the river. So the return period is not a static value. And that is something that insurers should consider. Again, the last aspect is on data. Different kinds of data go in as an input to CAT model. Most important of it is the quality, whether it is location, occupancy information, coverage information, building height. Let's just take the example of location, because that is what is most important for flood. Now, there is also a propensity of equating precision with accuracy. So just because your policy has latitude and longitude level described 20 digits after the decimal point doesn't mean that it is an accurate location. So the maximum a CAD model can take is 6 digits, which is like the distance between here to here. So anything more than that, basically it is sensor error, and that precision is actually trying to split the atom. So that much noise is not needed. And the other aspect is on resolution, as well as accuracy, as well as the computation time. Resolution always comes at a cost. The reason why you don't see model vendors developing flood models at 5 meters, 3 meters, 2 meters is because it is very costly, both in terms of the amount of infrastructure that it needs, also because of the computation it needs. So if you observe the location, the channel is quite visible at 5 by 5 meter. But as you go forward, the channel disappears. So at this resolution, nothing is visible on what is river, what is hill beside it. This used to be flood modeling 5 years ago. This was the resolution at which it was modeled. Now, how a flood map looks like on that is, so at a very good resolution, it is quite detailed, but as you go to the coarsest resolution, if you use this map for underwriting, that is going to get horribly wrong. So the models in general, I think data is very good, but again, the more important point is we have to recognize what models can and cannot do. And again, somebody was asking me the question earlier, so I included that point. A model, in my view, cannot replace an underwriter. And again, the same logic, AI cannot replace underwriter at this stage yet. And understanding the assumptions behind a model, that is important. The operational aspects of it, again, going back to the point of data, it is valuable, but it also has some risks associated with using wrong data. Model usage, it's going to only increase over the course of few years, and insurers, reinsurers who invest in these models, they will benefit in the longer run. So the outlook is, the foundational element is underwriting, active catastrophe management, whether it is real-time loss forecasting or risk-based underwriting, that is already a reality. Maybe not so much in the Asian region, but it is a prevalent practice elsewhere. Technology disruptions, they are bound to happen. They are already happening. There are many cases for that. So the industry must keep at pace and stay relevant, because if you don't do that, your competitor will definitely do that. So with that, I will open the floor for questions, if there are any.
ขอเสียงปรบมือ
Can we have a big hand for Niwan Hulakun, the head of operations and program management from Impact Forecasting from Aon. And again, for those of you, if you are in this meeting room, please feel free to raise your hand. I will send you the microphone. Or alternatively, you can scan the QR code, which will be appearing on the screen in a couple of seconds. I think this is a very interesting way how we can apply the CAT model, because we know that the disaster appears more and more frequently, and how we can apply it to our insurance business, starting from underwriting to claiming. Now the QR code is on. You can scan the QR code to submit your question to our executive from Aon.
Himwan, how could such increasing natural disaster affect on group insurance?
That's a good question. So someone was actually, I think Harprem was talking about pooling points. So pooling risk is also one outcome for increasing disasters. So cat pools, that is a sort of grouping the risk as well as trying to preempt based on one single pool of money that is already collected. I would say it will impact group insurance probably more than what it impacts the normal policies. Look at what happened with Quake. So some of the policies that you are seeing are actually all the owners got insured in a particular condominium, and you have these accumulations of risk more and more coming. You don't have a single large loss, but more of an accumulation. So for CAT models, accumulations are probably more important than one single large risk, I would say. So yeah, it will impact quite a bit.
All right. And let's jump to the first question from the audiences. What would you like to pick? Will AI replace underwriting? Or actually, will AI replace underwriting officer or even underwriting department?
Okay, I will do my best to answer that. Again, personal opinion, no. Not Aeon's, not impact forecasting's, personal opinion, no. One good reason for that is probably an example where, so artificial intelligence, they can be used in, let's say, at the point of pricing. You can say that, okay, this is my location and I'm going to price it this much because my AI CAT model, and we are talking about CAT models only, my AI CAT model says that due to climate change, in this particular location, there is going to be 10% increase in volatility. Now, that AI might have been trained on general circulation models or global climate models. In 1991, there was a volcanic eruption in Indonesia, I think Mount Pinatubo or something like that, that actually brought down the global temperature for 3 straight years by few degrees. So AI will not be able to predict that. So only a hydrologist or a meteorologist who studied that will be able to say that there are anomalies in these global climate models and we have to have some sort of a different pricing. So this is not, AI is not a magical bullet.
All right.
I don't think it will replace an underwriter. You still need human in the loop, in my opinion.
Human jobs still exist.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we can all keep our jobs.
All right, please. How often should model be updated?
Flood models, at least 3-4 years. Quake models, slightly larger. Anything that is related to hydrometeorology, so either atmosphere or hydrosphere, they should be updated maybe around 4 to 5 years.
Let's jump to that question. Challenges for flood modeling. Was flood in Hat Yai a surprise? Was it part of the model assumption? What would you like to answer?
I will answer this carefully because Panchit is sitting here as well. So, was it a surprise? In some terms, yes. Because one, especially for motor, there is always an assumption that these are movable risks. So if there is an enough warning, the expectation is that the motor will be moved higher ground. But before that, the assumption will be like, okay, for a slow-moving flood, you will get enough warning. But for this flooding, you had, I think, heavy rainfall in like 2 hours, 3 hours. There is not much gap at all. That kind of event never happened. And even though there is a canal built there, it was not able to accommodate that much rainfall and that much runoff, which happened in a span of few hours. So pluvial flooding, which is surface flooding, goes into the canal or river. Fluvial flooding goes out of the river for overflow. So for fluvial flooding, like 2011 Thai flood, the Chao Phraya flood, it is easier to estimate because there is warning. But for this, in my opinion, it was a little unexpected, but CAT events are always unexpected.
All right.
Somewhat.
Right, thank you for your answer. Here comes to one last question, perhaps. All right, just like a TV show or something, what would you like me to ask him? What about this? Since rain or flood forecast can be made long in advance, really, for insurance pricing purposes, how does catastrophe model take into account of this, and how accurate can it be?
Actually, rain and flood can be forecasted. So you have a system called as GLOFAS, which is by European agency. You have Flood Hub, which I mentioned at the beginning, that is flood forecasting. With enough data, all the universities can forecast flood as well. There are also some satellites which are also Thai specific that are very good in estimating rainfall. The problem comes is how can that be translated to insurance pricing, and whether CAT models take that into account. Typically, they don't, because again, each event is very unique, so you can't really have a statistical representation of what can happen in future. But what a CAT model can tell you is event 1, event 3, event 37, event 300, event 500,000, whichever. So these are the representative events which can somewhat mimic what is happening. An insurer can take note of that and say that, okay, these are the worst possible outcomes. So depending upon where the flood is going, these are the outcomes that I should be prepared for. So CAT model, I don't think they can take these into consideration. How accurate can it be is probably a matter of perspective. So CAT models only give size of the loss as well as the probability or likelihood of size of the loss. So essentially it is a stress testing phenomena for your portfolio. It is as accurate as how much you protect yourself to be.
It's a bit challenging, right?
Yeah, it is a very challenging
อ่ะ
thing.
คุณโมลูกูก็สมกับเป็น
Wow. So that's our expert in data science, and he truly believes in the data. And even the weather, it can be forecasted with the right data and the right technology. But the process to transform them into insurance pricing, it can be quite challenging depending on the model. And speaking of the worst case scenario, what loss can you handle? And that requires additional, more detailed and more delicate processes based on each organization's mechanism. And that's the challenge.
Mr. Himawan Muluku a big hand และในโอกาสนี้นะครับ
May I invite Ms. Prapapat Kulaworopa, special expert from the OIC, to present the token of appreciation to our guest speaker.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our distinguished guests. And thank you very much คุณ Poppy ตอนนี้มาถึงช่วงสุดท้าย
We have arrived at the last session for today for the International Insurance Symposium 2025. And as we say, today is really packed. And for the last session, we have started with the risk and disaster, because our insurance industry is based on risk management and mitigation. But what happens around the world goes back to the sustainable development, and we came up with ESG framework. As we are doing at the moment, we have to take into consideration the environment, social, and governance aspects of businesses, and how we can encourage an ecosystem which conductive and which supports sustainable development. In the next session, we will find out how. We are honored by a senior executive from the PricewaterhouseCoopers on the topic of the new investment paradigm, navigating top 5 considerations through ESG lens in 2026. And in this session, let us welcome Mr. Paiboon Tankoon, partner from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Mr. Chayathorn Chantaryangwanit, the partner and corporate sustainability ESG leader from PricewaterhouseCoopers.
วัสดีครับโอเค
Hello, good afternoon. So first of all, I would like to thank the OIC for giving us PwC to share with you about the new investment paradigm through the ESG lenses. Today, I would like to talk about top 5 investment consideration through ESG lens in 2026. And actually, we have our top 5 here, but to begin with, let me tell you that to understand these top 5, before we can give you the answer for what is the top 5, we will need to start with some backgrounds in insurance industry, including general and life insurance around the world based on PwC survey, and we have just launched our report from our survey. So let me start by sharing with you what is the risk and the key agendas for insurance industry around the world. You will find out more about the regional level and at the business level. And secondly, what about Thailand? Thailand, in terms of ESG, how we are doing at the moment. Do we have laws and regulations in regards of ESG? And among insurance players, which one that we should pay additional attention to? And that leads us to number 3, ESG in insurance business in Thailand. How we should manage our ESG, which will lead us to investment. How can we invest for sustainability? And how to invest sustainably? And we will close. Finally, when we talk about ESG, we know that ESG is not just one department or one person. It takes everybody because collaboration is true sustainability. And I am honored to have Mr. Paipoon or Pita to share with us the survey result. And I am Shiathorn Chantanit. Once again, I am in charge of the ESG lead at PwC. So today we will share with you the details for insurance industry in the next few seconds. Now, Kun Paipoon, can you start with our survey result? Shall I speak in Thai? All right.
All participants นะครับ so let's talk in Thai กันนะครับคือจริงๆก่อนที่
So before we get to the global result, or the insurance banana skin is actually the global industry risk report, which was released or published last month. Actually, every year we will conduct our surveys with 2 institutions in London, and we launched this insurance banana skin kind of report. But before I share with you the key findings in banana skin 2025, let me share with you some facts and figures. As I am one of the executive and as a natural person, I want to share with you what we see in the ESG, especially for E. What are the climate risks that we see? Last year, first of all, was the hottest year. Our global temperature exceeded 1.5 degrees Celsius for the first time, and our reduction target, based on Paris Agreement back in 2015, or COP21, we hope that we can keep the temperature from exceeding 1.5 degrees Celsius, but we have already passed that point. One of the main reasons was because of the economic crisis. Many corporations, including public and private sectors, they didn't inject enough private finance in the climate finance in order to tackle the climate issues or the climate risks. Secondly, fact number 2, again, good news. Actually, I have some good news too. I want to share more good news because today is already a last session, especially for the insurance. From COP30 from Brazil, which ended just 2 weeks ago, they have already committed to more climate finance at 1.3 trillion US dollars per year in order to tackle with the risk. And in order to achieve the target, we aim for 2030. And that gives us a very big opportunity for the insurance players like you, especially in Thailand and also overseas, in 3 buckets. First, because insurance is a kind of investor, one of the biggest top 3 investor in the world basically. As insurance player, we can mobilize a lots of funds or investment towards the green projects or related projects such as green bonds and renewable energies and infrastructure, which support climate risk resilience. And I think we must do it as a human being and as we are being affected by the global warming directly. Second is about innovative products. This can help us support the climate change initiative, including parametric insurance. But we already talk about it for quite some time, but we hardly see any product like this. And macro insurance, for example, where we can support the grassroots people who are being affected by the disaster more and more, such as flooding and other disasters, like in Hat Yai, for example. The biggest loss, based on the estimation, could be as high as 25 billion Thai baht. And altogether, do you know the number could exceed 140 billion baht from 9 provinces altogether? That's a significant loss, and with such loss, it brings us some opportunity. I would like to encourage you to also think about the opportunities too. As an insurer, we should start thinking about the products that might help us make our country greener and greener. And thirdly, about risk modeling and risk management and even risk services. Actually, as insurer, we are very good in forecasting this risk, and this is actually our golden hour as new service offerings and etc. in order to help assessing the risk and quantify these numbers and to use it in risk management and even to support the government in risk management and even sell it as a service. But now there's another fact. Let me share with you some surprises. And I believe that you have aware about this climate risk index or came from German Watts. And Thailand is originally for medium term and short term, we were ranked 70 plus something. Now we have become 17, not 70 plus. We are only behind the Philippines and Vietnam and Indonesia and Myanmar. These are our neighboring countries too. So our regions and also Cambodia, we are among the top 20 countries in the world for mid and long term. And long term, we have moved up from 30 to 20 seconds. So climate risk is no longer long term. It's already short term today, and we need a practical solutions.
And now, so let's me talk about insurance banana skin finding. So this is a survey which PwC conducts with London Foundation and Banking and CSFI, which is a reliable and credible institutions. And so we have this survey every 2 years, and this is to survey the people in the insurance ecosystem, life insurance, non-life insurance, brokerage, intermediaries, and the regulators as well. And so there are around 700 participants participating in the survey, and it was conducted in June to August 2025, and the report was issued in October. And this banana skin talks about the top risks and top challenges that insurers across the world are facing, and we have the report which can be looked into by region as well. So please, next slide. So actually, if we look into the region perspective, people who responded to the survey are in Asia Pacific, Europe, and you can see that the majority of the portion are these people. And on the sector breakdown, most respondents comes from life and PLC, which is non-life. So the risks which give a headache to insurers, there are top 5 issues. The first one is cybercrime, which is ranking number 1. It is actually the trending issue, and people in the business circle will hear news about this that happens in our country. And the second one is artificial intelligence, and so it comes from rank 7 to rank 2. And actually, item number 1 and 2 are important. I have talked to the companies who have worked on the prevention of cybercrime, and then they said that the scammer and hackers, they use AI, which is usable 24 hours, and this is something that's very close to us and it happens more frequently. And third, technology. This is the challenge to adopt and adapt to new technologies in the insurance businesses, because insurance companies core system is still pretty traditional, and so in order to change the core system to be able to accommodate the back end and front end work is kind of a challenge. And the fourth one, macroeconomy, we don't ni- we don't need to talk about this because there are a lot of factors, for example, geopolitical factors and also the industrial structure as well. So this actually impact the insurers because the consumers have less purchasing power. And the last one is climate change. As I said earlier, I want you to look at this as something that is very important because it's a top 10 risk in for Thailand. And so we're not just top 100 anymore. Just Hat Yai alone, you can see the loss is about 20 plus billion baht. And so we don't know how much damage we have gonna have to bear for this. And big movers, AI ranks number one, barrier to trade, and so we have to wait for the conclusion from America on tariffs and the regulation as well, and it will decrease, and also the security risk also ranking less. And in terms of the top 10 by sector, it varies. It depends on the type of the products. PNC, non-life, climate change ranks number two, and for life products, I don't think there's climate in here, but you can see cyber risk ranks number one because we have to be concerned about the customers' data, and composite is a combination between life and non-life. Cybercrime is top five, and reinsurance. We can see that climate risk can be hard to quantify, and so it's a headache for reinsurance company as well because there's more climate risk and it's happening more frequently, including the extreme weather. And Hat Yai is a very good example. You can see that the rainfall in Hat Yai is 350 milliliter per day, and that's more than anything we have experienced in 300 years. And so the scale is larger, and you can look at the details here. And my question here is in Asia Pacific. You can see that people who responded to the survey ranked climate change on number 9, but I think that it's actually top 5. So depending on the country, especially Thailand, Indonesia, it should be top 3 because the magnitude of the loss is quite high. And actually, if you look at this page, and if you look at by sector, the interesting part is that if you look at PNC and reinsurance, climate change is in the top 3. But for life insurance, if you can see, you would not see climate change in the ranking at all. So the impact by climate change from the company's perspective is quite minimal. But composite, we still see climate change in top 5. In terms of Asia Pacific, there are people who ask, oh, why climate change? We may not think that it's that important when we look at the regulations relating to climate change in this region. There not so much law relating to that compared to Europe. So you can see in Europe, climate change ranks 4th. In America, North America, it's very interesting that climate change also ranks 4th. Despite the fact that most respondents are from the States, they perhaps know that there is some leniency on the climate change regulation, and also they see more importance on this issue. And Africa, they see that climate change also ranks in their top 5. And so let's see what happens in Asia Pacific and why we don't see it as a top 5 issue. So this is the risk by respondents. And so the first one is cybercrime. We don't have to emphasize about this. As CEO of PwC, there is a lot of expense for the prevention of cybercrime is 2-digit number of spending. And so we can hear from the listed companies that hackers are working 24 hours using AI. And this risk is routinely happening. And this is something that everyone has to attach importance to, utmost importance to. Especially, we have a lot of sensitive data out there. Secondly, because of the artificial intelligence, the insurers and the company that I work for, we cannot not invest. We have to invest in a way that we can reap the benefit out of AI the most. And the respondents increase the rank from rank 7 to rank 2 because this is actually pertaining competitive advantage. And before this seminar, we had an AI meeting as well, and we are trying to accelerate our AI adoption, and also we have our own use case which we developed. And in terms of technology, which I already talked about earlier, the infrastructure in a lot of insurance companies in Thailand is still old, and we have to think about how can the old infrastructure accommodate or respond to the changes of the consumers on the change in technology. And also we have to think about all these aspects, and a lot of insurers think a lot about this and think about how much they have to invest in order to achieve the economy of scale. And so this is in line with the global observations. And the fourth one is macroeconomy. Because insurance cost is something that people do not attach great importance to, and so you can see that it is an insurance sector challenge as well, and we have to think about whether the premium would be increasing or decreasing, and so we have to manage this risk as well. And here, as I said earlier, I think that this is an opportunity for insurance sector to brainstorm and come up with a new products to help the consumers, to help the country and governments. We can think about pulling these risks so that we can actually better manage this disaster risk. And I want to see macro insurance so that the grassroots people can be assisted, and also the paramedic insurance is very important, as I mentioned earlier. And apart from what we have mentioned about these top 5 factors and the risk which the executives in insurance companies talked about, I would like to elaborate what Kun Prabhu has said. When we talk about climate risk, have you actually ever really asked the question, what is climate risk? When you look at climate risks, there are 2 aspects to it. The first one is physical risk, which is the risk that happen to physically. So this is a damage to property, for example. And so if the structure, your office, or for factories, if it's damaged, then that's a risk. For example, if it's flooded, or if there's extreme heat, or if they're experiencing heat wave or higher average temperature or cyclone storms. So we have to see which risk is associated with your organization. And insurance sector may not be directly relevant or related. This risk may not actually impact the building or facilities of the company, but it will impact their property which we insure. And so we have to evaluate your portfolio. And that's why the non-life companies and reinsurance company have to think about climate change because there are physical damage and physical risk. And the second one is transition risk. So on transition risks, we have to think about what it is, right? And so when we have carbon tax law in the future, if Thailand has climate change act, when it's enacted, we have to think about carbon tax. So if you release a lot of carbon dioxide, then you have to pay higher tax. Then that's the risk of the organization and the risk for the insurance company. And for example, if you're using an old technology or electrical technology, or if the office is using the old model of AC and it uses a lot of electricity, then that will cause a high emission of greenhouse gas. And with this high emission, we have to think about how much carbon tax you'd have to pay. And so this is one of the examples of transition risks. There are also other risks, for example, market risks. The market may experience changes and there may be changes in behavior of insuring, or there may be some changes in technology, and so you have to see how the transition is relevant to insurance companies. And in Thailand, I'm going to talk about investment later, and there are a lot of different standards. There are a lot of acronyms, and so Kun Go may remember there are 50 or 60 acronyms, but I'm just giving 30 or 40 examples here. But let me tell you about the key main ones. And on the left-hand side, these are the most commonly found standards. You may know IFRS. For those who are financier or accountants, you know that IFRS is not doing just accounting standards. They are now doing sustainability reporting standards as well, which I would elaborate further. And because the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission in Thailand, will also use these standards. And GRI is not financial reporting, but they talk about sustainability reporting, and they talk about basics of sustainability. And so for Thailand, we don't enforce GRI, it's voluntary. And lastly, if you have your children living in Europe, you may hear that European countries, they have quite strict sustainability law. Also, if you have subsidiaries in Europe, they have the very strict sustainability law there as well. And so on the right hand side, there are frameworks here and measurement protocols, and you may be familiar with them. For example, the greenhouse gas protocol. This is to measure greenhouse gas in scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. And in Thailand, we have the Thai Greenhouse Gas Organization, or TGO, who is monitoring and regulating. But for other countries, they have greenhouse gas protocol. And the climate risk, we have TCFD. So C is climate. So this is a guideline and talks about the climate risks. TNFD is looking into the nature or disaster related risk. And for example, if the customers set a factory in the forest, then there's deforestation and they need to report that. And on the right hand side, these are all optionals, and so it depends on the company strategy to adopt or not. And on the left bottom hand side, these are the things which the organizations can choose to adopt. So may I add to this point? Now, so we're working on non-ESG reporting, and the other fact is that all the ESG reporting standards, which Kun Victor has said, they are metrics and indicators and goals and quantitative one. So if you are an insurer, this opens up new opportunities to provide warrant or to provide insurance all the time. And those who are product development of insurer, you have to upskill yourself because you can come up with new products to help the world, to help the Thai people, to help the businesses. So this is something that we have to stay tuned. And for Thailand, as I already mentioned, that you may have heard that we categorize different businesses and we call it Thailand taxonomy. There are 5 regulators that are working together, and OIC is one of them who are working on the taxonomy. And so this is a categorization of businesses and see how much greenhouse gas they're emitting, and so this lead to how much loan they will get. And so with this taxonomy, the insurance company can actually have a look into it, and you can look into the risk of different businesses and you can manage the risk accordingly. And the next one is Climate Change Act, which is in the final draft, and I believe that they are trying to pass the law, and there is a clause on carbon tax inside, and then the IFRS disclosure standards as well. And we can hear later on who has to report. And the targets for Thailand, I would like to show you here that Thailand has changed our target from going for net zero from the year 2065 to 2050 already, because the government had committed at COP30 in Brazil, and this is our change in the targets that we set for our country. And so in terms of IFRS, and you may wonder if it's commonly used, it's actually a lot of countries using that, including the Asia Pacific. Australia is using that as well, and Singapore, Malaysia, and also Thailand. And in Thailand, we just changed regulations, and the SEC just issued these regulations on Friday, and I had to change my slide. And Thailand will use this. So the set 50 companies will use IFRS in 2070, set 100 in 2071, and moving forward. And so this is something that the companies need to prepare for, and this applies for the listed companies in our country. And in terms of insurance, when we talk about sustainability, I'd like to highlight that sustainability doesn't fall into one person's responsibility, but we have to look into different dimensions. Company strategy is very important, and the executive has to put importance on this matter, and they have to ensure that these strategies are being implemented. And the next one is on risk management and underwriting. As I said, in case of flooding, in the future, if we don't analyze the climate change risk at all, it means that in the future, we have to start thinking whether our pricing is correct, and also we have to think about how to issue the appropriate policy. Third, product and service development. Kun Paiwoon talked about ESG, and it's not just about risk. If you have risk, you have to manage them, and you have to change your products, and you have to have a policy to come up with the appropriate pricing. But also, opportunities is important. You have to look for new opportunities. I talked to an executive today. He is not in an insurance sector, but he said that whether we would have weather hedging or not. Weather hedging is to transfer the risk of climate change to insurance companies. And so I think that I've heard similar products in other countries as well. And so you have to think whether this is a new opportunity or not. And in terms of claims management, there must be conditions for claiming indemnification, and you have to also include the sustainability aspect to it. And in terms of investment, when you invest, you have to look at the investment framework, and investors or investment team have to look at the ESG set ESG rating, and you know that this rating will no longer exist next year. The Stock Exchange of Thailand will change to FTSE Russell, which is evaluated by the UK, and so the scoring is going to be changed next year. Set ESG rating is when they get the companies will send their information, but for FTSE they will not read the information on the website, and they will also go read the reviews or other public data. They will use AI to analyze and run all these data on each aspect ESG, and they will score these aspects, and then this score will be disclosed next year. And in terms of investment, as I said, ESG rating method will be changed as well. So and I'm going to skip to investments. Sustainable investment, how to invest sustainably, and we have to think about measuring. When there are 3 levels here or 3 stages here, you have to see whether the score is high or not. You have to consider these factors.
คะแนน rating ดีแต่เขาก็
So if the rating is high, you also have to refer to DJSI or ratings in other country or S&P, because they have a lot of questions in their questionnaires. It's not just asking about scoring, but they want to see that you have the ESG aspect embedded in your strategy as well. And also they have to evaluate whether what your investment, how much impact your investment is in terms of the ESG aspect. And so there's a different maturity level, and we have to look at different criteria, as I said earlier. And in terms of challenges in sustainable investment, the first question is, how can we define the word sustainability? I believe that the meaning of sustainability for everyone is different, and I think that you have different answers. And if we're going to look at the definition that we have to set for investment, we have to have a clear definition. So if you're investing in a renewable energy company, it means that the company that you invest in, there would be less dependency on fossil fuels, and so there's less risk, and so you have to consider different matrices. Next, you have to look at measurement of investment risk and impact. As I said, it could be a non-financial aspect, but you have to see this non-financial aspect can be converted into return on investment or not. And the third one is cultural change. For cultural change, the challenge is that the word climate change or sustainability, for each executive, their strategies in tackling this may be different, and so it depends on the executive strategy. And the last one is perspectives. Of course, if you talk about sustainability last year and this year, the mood and tone is different. So if you talk about sustainability since the beginning of last year before Trump, I think that everyone was interested in the European regulations. But when Trump came, everything stopped. And in Europe, they also stopped and halted and delayed the process to see what happens. And investment is impacted because of the definition of sustainability as well. Some laws that has been issued may impact certain companies and they have to adapt. And yes, that's relating to investment part. And when we look at these different criteria, these are the portfolio that we considered. And this is an example that we worked on SDG goal for each portfolio, and we measured the impact magnitude. And there's a low, medium, and high impact. So this is the overview of each portfolio and for each industry sector, and the insurance companies have used this before.
ว่าจริงๆแล้วในเรื่องของ ESG นะครับถามว่าภาพของ ESG เนี่ย
We still have one more topic to go. So who owns ESG? So today, in terms of investment, you might think about it's among the top 5 investment, but the question is, it's not just about investment actually, but who has to be looking after that? Is it underwriting? Is it other departments? But actually everybody in an organization must participate. So the most important thing in this regard is the tone from the top. So when we talk about the strategy or strategic initiative and how the top executive sees sustainability, and I have some mock-up example for you. So when we talk about sustainability, that is relevant to the insurance industry. Most of the cases, based on our survey, the customers really care about products and services that helps saving the world, especially when it comes to new products and when it has a lot to do with sustainability. And there's already a demand, but if the price is not much different, they are ready to pay for that. In terms of distribution, so when you think about sustainability for distribution, yes, it is not about just your company, but you have to think about the whole value chain. So when you look at the distribution, it is part of your key channels in your value chain. So you have to take into consideration, because you have to think about your key channels too. And let us highlight a few more things. Maybe this is more HR related. Sometimes people say that should it be HR who is the champion of the ESG, but sometimes yes, HR is in charge of some S, but it doesn't mean that all sustainability goes to HR team. But HR can be a very important figure in order to drive and communicate all ESG messages to everyone in the organization. And maybe they are the one who keep track of the KPIs, which again designed by the top executives. Like the HR will be a very important stakeholder. Coming to technology, people ask about AI, but if AI is good or bad to the environment, does it cause more global warming? In this case, for AI, it might help us improve productivity and reduce some work. So you have to think about the AI that you want to use. Maybe you have, let's say, 1,000 people. Do you give away AI to all people in your company? Because sometimes they don't use AI for work for all the time, and that might contribute to higher greenhouse gas emission. But if you are being selective and choose the right people to use the AI for you, that might improve your productivity, helps you work faster with lesser human resources. Now, the risk team, certainly they play a very important part because they are being affected, and all the information that we use for the analysis, especially when it comes to sustainability and global warming and how it affects certain risks. Finance team, finance may be more towards the downstream side. you might be able to see all the recorded ledger, but don't forget that like, finance is actually the spearhead for the projection and other projects. So when we talk about the future risk, especially possible risk, when it comes to global warming and ESG, it's all long term. And when it comes to long term, you will receive questions from the top executive how these projects will affect us in the future. And the finance team can help you do the planning and the financial planning especially. Strategy and transformation. This is very important because all strategies that we want to put into place for sustainability cannot really start, or change cannot happen without strategy and transformation. Lastly, the operations. Yes, we need to operate and corporate affairs. You may need to have the investor relations, who is the key function to communicate with your investors, including your shareholders. And let me quickly summarize my presentation with maybe Kun Paiboon, can you go first? And I will quickly wrap that. I see 1 minute on the clock, but actually I would like to invite everyone to think about ESG and climate risk as a positive thing actually. For all insurers, actually, you might need to rethink and think about something new actually. Secondly, I would like to invite you to look at the key findings from the top 30, just last 2 weeks, or from COP30, especially the climate financing from COP30. And please search Banana Skin. The full version consists of 60-page long report for 2025. It's only the last few weeks. I read the whole report, and when you read the report, maybe you want to move to actually I want to move to insurance company and develop new products. You know why? Whatever has to do with the climate risk, it has to be quantified in number, and once we get these numbers, people who are suffer from the impact, they want to share the risk to the insurer. It will create lots of new products. You can ask the AI today from COP30 meeting how insurance player can play a part in tackling climate change. And it will give you 6 or 7 opportunities, where one of that is parametric insurance and even micro insurance for the grassroots people, if we stay in the right direction. And I believe that many of you are executive and many of you are just another people on the street. But this is an opportunity for you to help us develop new products for Thai people, to help them manage and mitigate the risk, because we know that Thailand is not an easy position in terms of climate change. Our ranking climbs very quickly from a few years ago. Today we are ranked at number 17 within just the past 2 years, and the extreme weather has never been closer. Even in Bangkok, you have to put your bet on flood or no flood. 10 years ago, we don't have to worry about that, right? But in the past 4 or 5 years, we have to start thinking about that again. It's coming closer. But for insurance sector, this is a very big business opportunity where you should explore and spend some time and resources, so you can maybe scale up your business and also serve the country at the same time. And right, I believe that it's time for Q&A, right? That is right. Once again, a big round of applause for Mr. Paiboon and Mr. Chayathorn from PwC. And now it's time that you have been waiting for. PwC partners are with us with the last session. If you have any question, please raise your hand, or you can also submit your question using the QR code on the screen. And while we are waiting for the question, I have to start with some question for you from people who are not really into this business, but we want to know why, what holds us back, what are the challenges or obstacles that hold the financial or industry players back from participating in sustainable investment, or not as it should be. We used to conduct a survey at PwC just last year, and we want to understand in financial businesses, especially commercial banks and government banks, as well as insurance business. Let's say it's a group of financial businesses, including asset managers too. At the moment, we want to know how much they have been doing in terms of sustainability, and that includes climate change or global warming. And we have found some interesting findings. The biggest player or the more advanced team has become the asset management businesses, or people who is looking after investment basically. So we know that they have been more advanced. Actually, there are more insights in the market. And second player has been the commercial banks. Most commercial banks are not really into it because actually they are pretty much like insurance business. They are not being affected heavily, but it's their portfolios. Let's say if they give loan to a coal energy production facility, you cannot reduce carbon footprint by yourself. You need to ask your coal player to reduce their greenhouse gas or coal gen owner. So they are not really into that, but they can help us support or push for actions. And they don't receive a lot of support from the government, but they are trying. And then insurance sector is the third. We know that you have already exploring the opportunity, but you haven't jumped right into it. And I understand that for insurance sector, you still have to conduct some studies to get all the insights and data. And maybe I think tone on from the top can be very important because sometimes the direction is not very clear when you're speaking of the direction. Let me keep it short. One of the reasons why we are not that advanced is because many of you, especially at the C-suite, you are looking at it as a long term. Unfortunately, it is not. I have been into this for 4 or 5 years, and I have been discussing with even biologists and many experts. Thailand is a very risky country, let me tell you. Do you know about the biodiversity loss and nature loss? It affects half of Thai GDP directly by 2030 if you don't do anything. If nobody step up and help us improve the biodiversity because it affects everything from food and agriculture and etc. The scope is very broad, especially E, but I don't think we cannot avoid it anymore. You have to do it. Like today, I want to invite you to upskill in these aspects too, because this is a very big opportunity. And insurance, like I say, jokingly said, I really want to move to insurance because of this opportunity, especially the product team, or even OIC, because I believe that we can serve the country and creating a lots of new businesses at the same time. I know it's difficult, but it's going to be fun. I think they are very clear in terms of their investment perspective for sustainability. So the majority of the players are still the asset managers and then commercial banks. Insurance are still a bit lacking and wait and see. So while we are waiting for your question, actually there was another point where our speakers already mentioned. We talk about taxonomy and ESG, and today we have a lot more financial products. For example, for financial institutions, when you think about scope 1, 2, or 3, there are more details behind that. But what about the insurance business? And carbon footprint? And how we help the country transitioning into net zero or zero emission? So what can industry player do, like insurance industry? So when you think about scope 1 greenhouse gas emission, it is yourself. And then secondly, you have the electricity because we have to purchase power. And the third scope is your value chain. It is not you anymore, but it is the whole value chain from upstream to downstream, except yourself. That's scope 3 emission. So for insurance companies, we believe that scope 3 will be very big and broad because when you think about insurance, let's say if you have auto insurance for ICE vehicles, you have to start thinking about how much greenhouse gas ICE vehicles are emitting. So these are some examples. It is pretty much like banks, because for banks, scope 1 and 2, they only contribute to 3 to 5% of the whole scope 3. But simply said, they have to think about their customer because their customers are the one who release the greenhouse gas. But what about you? Maybe some of your customers are big contributors. So I believe that scope 3 can be a very big chunk for insurance business. And that leads us to the question what we can do. I believe that it's a very long term, but ultimately you might have to change your product design to serve and to present us with more opportunity, especially for greenhouse gas reduction. But today we have to start by thinking about our own organization first. Today, have we set our sustainability as our company's key agenda? Secondly, how can we communicate within our organization so we can be aligned and decide on the action plan? I think this is where it can be the next step for the insurance. If you want to start, this is where we can. can I add a few things? Many of you don't know about this. When you study about younger generation like Gen Y and Gen Z, who will be maybe your major customers in the future, especially for insurance, they really care about purchasing products and service where ESG is embedded as their strategies and also as their actions. But PwC, we have been asked by our applicants what we do for the society and the environment. And I will need to find some answers for them because one of the top 10 on Banana Report is managing talents actually, because actually you have a lot of rotation in insurance business. For young talents, they want to be with somebody who is good for the world and good for the humankind. I know that it's going to be very hard because of these younger generations. They are being more aware about this carbon emission thing. But after a few times, with more engagement, your people engagement index, like PwC called people engagement index, will increase. We have measured and we have conducted our survey for people engagement index and correlations with sustainability. Sustainability can really improve your engagement index. The higher the index, it means that you have a very good chance to retain your good talents with you and they will stay with you longer. So maybe that is some point for you to consider. This is based on our internal analysis. I think we have one more question before we close. And how do we, or Thailand, what is our stance comparing with other country? Maybe this is within the arena of the insurance industry, maybe at the regional level, or maybe with some countries nearby like Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia, etc., where we stand as Thailand in insurance industry, or how? Victor, can you share with us? Yes, and for regulation landscape, in comparison with maybe Malaysia and Singapore, the insurance industry has been pretty much more advanced. They already set their strategy for sustainability, and second, they already have action plan layout. They already decide on short-term, mid-term, mid and long-term, so they are pretty much more advanced than us. Now, coming to Indonesia, for example, Indonesia is a very diverse country, especially in terms of insurance and insurance business itself. So Indonesia, I believe that they are pretty much close to Thailand at the moment. They are looking at the opportunity too, and some major companies, they already started. So let's dive with these 4 countries in Southeast Asia. I want to compare with somebody who is side by side with us, like Singapore and Malaysia and some EU, but we are 1 or 2 years behind them. But when you think about our listed entities, like with more than 800 companies, actually set 100 has made a lot of progress. They don't wait for the regulation to be in place. They know that this is the new rule of doing business, especially for export businesses. CBAM will be enforced next year, and I believe that besides of carbon credit, I think I already start thinking about biodiversity credit, which is actually another opportunity for insurance. The standard is evolving, yes, and the banks are also do that. So that's why I want to repeat this message again. Please upskill yourself in ESG. You can find out more at pwc.com. We have a lot of free published information. Or if you want to know more, you can also talk to PwC team. We don't just do this for commercial, but we want to share with you some papers. If you like, you can request the papers, or maybe you can ask some PwC to give you some lectures on the ESG for insurance business. We gladly provide you a special lecture. Wow, I love that you close with sustainability. So we can join hands together, and this is the new investment paradigms presentation from PricewaterhouseCoopers. Thank you very much, Mr. Paibun Tankun and Mr. Chayaporn Chanreungwanit from PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. And we also have some token of appreciation to both of you. We are truly honored to have you, and that marks the end of the first day of our annual symposium. May I invite Dr. Niras Saptawitham, the Assistant to Director General for the Advanced Insurance Institute, to present the token appreciations to our speakers.
เป็นของที่ระลึกจากสำนักงานคปภ
We also have some present from the OIC. First, Mr. Paibun Tankun, partner from PwC, and Mr. Chayaporn Chanreungwanit, partner and sustainability lead and ESG. And both of them are from PricewaterhouseCoopers. Again, a big round of applause for our speakers and our special guests. Thank you so much for joining us, and also Dr. Nirat. And ladies and gentlemen, this is just day one for International Insurance Symposium 2025. And before we part, I have one quick activity and I would like to ask you to join us. Please scan the QR code once again. Just one more QR code, but this QR code will be the evaluation for the symposium. If you like, or if there's something that you don't like, if there's any suggestion, or if there's any message that you would like to send it to the OIC, so we can further improve the next International Insurance Symposium. My gratitude in advance. Thank you so much for helping us, sharing your feedback. And for tomorrow, we still have a lots of activity. We will spend another full day right here in the Pullman King Power Hotel with even the retirement lottery and also pilot model for road safety and the panel session for sustainable insurance, a special keynote on medical inflation, presentation from the demo from the winner from the OIC InsurTech Award this year, and the presentation from the students from the advanced insurance course or super AIIs. Cohort 3 and the award presentation for the advanced insurance from the 13 cohort. And thank you very much again for spending the whole day with us and help us fill the feedback form. Please do not forget to validate or stamp your parking stamps. If you have your parking stamps, please proceed to the registration or the hotel lobby for the parking stamps to validate the system. And tomorrow we will start again at 8:30 for the registration. And if you post anything on the social media, please do not forget the hashtag ISS2025 on behalf of the OIC. I bid you a farewell and I hope you are safe trip home. I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you very much.